Chapter 1915. Sis, are you an idiot? Can't you tell? When Mommy was pregnant with us, she tried to kill herself. We didn't even get a chance to see the world before we were sent back to the underworld. It was so dangerous. We almost had a brush with death in our mother's womb, Little Bean said jokingly. Huamin, Chin Chu, the problem is, didn't we give birth to them? Mommy didn't do that. Don't worry about these boring things. It's boring. Pudding was much calmer than Little Bean. Although she was young, she could tell. For the past 4 years, Mommy's life had been tough. Although she didn't lack money, her body and mind were under a lot of pressure. For some reason, Daddy couldn't go back to be with Mommy. That's enough, Chin Moo Moo. Stop acting, okay? Eat, or I'll take your drumstick away. Huamin threatened. No. Little Bean was so scared that she immediately picked up the drumstick and held it tightly in her hand. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. Mr. Chin's words touched everyone's heart. Chin Ning's words reminded them of the past, making the atmosphere very sad. Fortunately, Huamin was very good at self-regulation. He quickly calmed himself down and helped everyone else calm down. After dinner, the twins were a little sleepy, so Mama Chin took them upstairs to rest. Mr. Chin also took an afternoon nap. Chin Ning took Huamin around the garden and chatted with him. Chin Chu, on the other hand, turned on his laptop in his study and continued to deal with official business at HQ and in China. He gave Huamin a full vacation. In the study, Chin Chu's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID. The number was familiar. Hello. Chin Chu, I'm Su Yu. Emisham, I know. Mr. Chin was still cold. There's something I need to tell you. Go ahead. As soon as you left, Huasiqian sent someone to follow you. I'm guessing that his people have already arrived in America. You have to be careful over there, especially the twins. Yes, I know. If you need anything, call me at any time, Su said. I will. Thank you. The two men spoke succinctly, but they both knew what each other meant. After Su Yu's men found out about this, he began to feel restless. He was afraid that the twins and Huamin would be in danger. After all, Huasiqian's perverted eyes were fixed on Huamin. Over the past few years, he showed no signs of giving up. After hanging up the phone, Su was still worried, and his expression was not very good. President Su, have some water. And came in with a glass of water and placed it on Su Yu's table. And, do you think Huamin and the twins will be in danger? They won't. From what I know, Chin Chu is a very careful person. He won't make a mistake like this. After all, he didn't have a chance to do anything here. Now that he's in the States, it's the Chin family's territory. Plus, the Rick family is there as well. He won't dare to do anything. I hope so. Although Su Yu said that, he was still worried. Just then, someone knocked on his office door. President Su. Jian Tong walked in wearing a wine-red cashmere coat. And knew what was good for him and retreated to the door. Recently, Jian Tong and Su Yu were still very popular. Mo Shui scandals didn't hurt Jian Tong at all. On the other hand, people thought that Su Yu trusted Jian Tong a lot after they were caught eating together. This made her status in Imperial Star rise even higher. Do you need something from me? Su Yu didn't even look up or look at Jian Tong. He was in a bad mood because of Huasiqian. Chapter 1916. There's something that I don't know how to tell you. Jian Tong seemed to be in a difficult position. Go ahead. Su Yu had known her for many years, so he wasn't as distant as he was with a newbie. Although he didn't like her, he didn't dislike her either. Tong was very smart and never showed her scheming side in front of Suyu. Hasn't the matter between the two of us been a hot topic recently? My family, they all thought it was real. My grandparents flew here from the south. My grandfather is almost 80 years old, and my mom said that they miss me a lot. So, my parents prepared a table full of food tonight. They want to invite you over for dinner. Of course, President Sue, you've always been very busy. If you're not free, that's fine. I'll just tell them that you're on a business trip. Please don't feel bad about it. After Tong finished speaking, she secretly looked at Suyu's expression. Suyu, on the other hand, was quite calm. His relationship with Tong wasn't real to begin with, but the Jian family paid attention to it and prepared a meal so seriously. If it was before, Suyu wouldn't have gone even if he was beaten to death. However, when he heard that Tong's grandparents flew here from the south, he knew that it wasn't easy. Plus, Tong repeatedly emphasized that Suyu didn't have to go. This made Suyu feel very embarrassed. He didn't know that Tong used Suyu's guilty conscience to take a step back in order to gain an advantage. Therefore, after a moment of silence, Suyu nodded. Okay, when? Tonight at 8:30 p.m., at my house. Tong was overjoyed. Okay, I got it. I'm busy now, I'll pick you up later. Thank you, President Sue. Tong couldn't suppress her excitement. It wasn't easy for her to catch up with the twins and Huamin when they weren't home. She was determined to pursue Suyu. As long as she could climb into Suyu's bed, her status would be stable. After all, ever since Suyu fell in love with Huamin, he had been abstinent for more than 4 years. No one would believe it, but Tong knew it was true. Because he had been investigating Suyu all this time, he had indeed never been intimate with another woman. She loved Suyu so much that she was going crazy. Maybe the other actresses in Imperial Star wanted to date Suyu because he was the boss of the company, the king of power and money. But as a popular actress, Tong had a lot of money herself. She really didn't lack money. She loved Suyu as much as Mo Shui loved Hua Xiqin. You're welcome. You helped me put on an act, so I'm paying you back. Suyu didn't think much of it. He didn't think it was too much. That night, Suyu's visit to Tong's house was exposed by the media. It caused a huge reaction. First, it was the Su family. The Su family was determined to not let Tong marry into their family. They really thought that their son was dating Tong. Second, many fans couldn't stand it. Huamin and Suyu had a lot of fans who thought they were a couple. They always hoped that the two of them could be together, so they immediately went to Tong's Weibo to curse at her. They fought with Tong's fans, and it was a tragic sight. The news of Suyu and Tong meeting each other's parents became the hottest topic on Weibo that day. When the twins saw the news in the States, they stomped their feet in anger. Sis, we just left and bitch Jian is already causing trouble. This woman is too much. I'm going to video call handsome Su and give him a good scolding. Little Bean's face was as angry as an angry bird. Calm down. We're in the States. Distant water can't quench our thirst. Pudding was still calm. Then what should we do? Are we just going to let that woman play tricks on our handsome Su? Little Bean puffed up her cheeks. No. It's useless to talk him out of it. Handsome Su still doesn't know how bitch Jian is. I have a better way to deal with her. Pudding smiled mysteriously. Wow, what is it? Little Bean walked over and looked at her sister with a flattering smile. Chapter 1917. You don't need to know. Then, Pudding turned her head proudly. Little Bean, sis, do mom and dad know that you're so arrogant? Little Bean's heart was in turmoil. However, she believed that as long as her cold and aloof sister made a move, she would definitely have a way to deal with bitch Jian. That day, after breakfast, Mr. Qin and Mama Qin suggested taking the twins to the beach. The first reaction of the two little guys was that they were overjoyed. Instead, they began to let their imagination run wild. Pudding, if we go to the beach, do we have to wear bikinis? Little Bean, oh, don't be so cruel. I've been eating meat for the past few days. It's not good to wear a bikini. Huamin, Qin Chu, nieces, you're thinking too much. In fact, at your age, it's not a problem for you to swim naked at the beach. Qin Ning teased. We can't be naked. We're girls. We'll be embarrassed, Little Bean said seriously. Auntie, are you going too? Pudding didn't know what she was thinking. Qin Ning nodded, okay, then let's go. Why do you sound like you don't want to? Huamin was puzzled. It's not like they haven't seen the sea before. We have it in Sea City too, so it's not worth looking forward to. Qin Chu laughed. Then, the whole family got dressed and went to the swimsuits. Although Huamin was young, he was very conservative. The swimsuit he brought was very conservative. It didn't show his back, stomach, or thighs. Wow! Sis-in-law, is this really a swimsuit? Qin Ning was surprised, Yes. Huamin was a little embarrassed. I thought it was a long dress. It's too long. You're the one who wears it the most on the beach. At my age, I don't want to compare myself to you young people. Ha! Huamin covered his face awkwardly. Qin Ning looked at her in disbelief. Sister-in-law, how old are you? You're not even 30 yet. You're still in your prime. Then, she turned back to look at Qin Chu. Brother, please advise my sister-in-law. Who would wear so much to swim at the beach? This isn't even a bikini. As long as your sister-in-law likes it. Plus, it's good that you don't reveal too much. After all, it's mine, Mr. Qin said proudly. Qin Ning, you two are really husband and wife. I've lost to you. Let's go, niece. Auntie will take you out to have fun. Then, Qin Ning ignored Qin Chu and Huamin and ran out of the room with her nieces. Mama Qin pushed Mr. Qin's wheelchair to the beach as well. As soon as Qin Ning and the twins arrived at the beach, they began to lie and play with each other. The bodyguards followed him in all sorts of ways, afraid that an accident would happen. Qin Chu and Huamin walked hand in hand along the coastline. Huamin stepped on the soft white sand. Above his head was the warm blue sky and white clouds. It was still winter in Sea City, and the temperature was -20 degrees Celsius at night. However, in Hawaii, it was spring and flowers were blooming. The contrast was very pleasing. Tomorrow, we'll go to Disneyland as a family. Qin Chu said. Okay. Huamin nodded happily. After we come back from Disneyland, Ning will take them to New York to see my uncle. Because Qin Chu's uncle was so busy, they hadn't seen him yet. He was running around like a flying man. Aren't we going to visit your uncle too? Huamin was surprised. We're not in a hurry. I'll take you to a place first. Qin Chu turned his head and looked at Huamin affectionately. Chapter 1918. Where? Take a guess, don't play mysterious with me again. Huamin pushed Qin Chu. The two were flirting by the beach. At this moment, Huamin suddenly felt that life was so peaceful. Her family was there, her daughter was there, and her husband was playing with her. This was the happiest moment in a person's life. On the other side, Qin Ning teased her niece, Pudding, are your parents also so lovey-dovey at home? How old are they? Why are they still holding hands? Auntie, a single dog like you can't understand this kind of sweetness. Single dog. I. Qi Ning wanted to refute but found herself speechless. Auntie, you're so old. Have you never been in a relationship? Pudding took the opportunity to ask. I've been in a relationship, but it didn't work out. Wow, tell us about it. It must be interesting. Pudding came up with a swimming ring around her neck. Her belly was sticking out and she looked extremely cute. You two are still young. Don't talk about love all the time. You're precocious. Sorry, we have the IQ of a 12-year-old, Pudding answered matter-of-factly. Auntie, have you slept with your first boyfriend? Pudding continued to ask boldly. Puff. Pudding, can you not be so scary? Qi Ning almost vomited blood. Seeing that it was time, Pudding lowered her head and dialed a number. Hey, Pudding. Handsome Sue, what are you doing? It's 6 in the morning. I'm not up yet. Su Yu's voice sounded a little lazy. Handsome Sue, where are you sleeping? Pudding immediately leaned over and poked her head out. At my house, of course, Su Yu replied, amused. Are you alone at home? Pudding bit her lip and asked. What are you talking about? Uncle Su doesn't even have a dog. Are there ghosts in the house? That's good. Humph, Pudding seemed to be satisfied. Wow, you guys are at the beach. The weather is so blue. Su Yu looked at the blue sky and ocean behind the twins. Yeah, the weather is great today. So, handsome Sue, do you want to come to the States? You can stay and eat at our place, Pudding said with a smile. You make it sound like I'm short of money. Little girl. Of course it's not that you lack money. Even if you have money, you can't buy fun. Come and play with us. Let's have fun together. That's true, so, do you want to come? I've checked the flight schedule. There's a flight tonight and you'll arrive at noon tomorrow. I don't think so. I still have a lot of work to do. There are a lot of things to do at the end of the year. It's not nice to go on vacation at this time. Su Yu certainly didn't want to lie to a child, so he declined. Okay. Hey, handsome Sue, wait a minute, I need to pee. Auntie, can you give me my phone? Don't hang up, I'll be right back. With that, Pudding threw the phone back to Qi Ning and ran away. Pudding, why did you give me your phone? Qi Ning was also confused. Sis. I haven't talked to handsome Sue yet. Little Bean tried to grab the phone. However, Pudding dragged her away. Don't go, dummy. I'm creating an opportunity for Auntie and handsome Sue. Little Bean, I'm so impressed. You can even do that. Don't you think Auntie is wearing a sexy outfit today? Pudding smiled wickedly. Chapter 1919. If I knew handsome Sue would video call her, I would have persuaded Auntie to go skinny dipping. Little Bean was even more perverted. Why don't you try and see if Auntie will break our legs? Pudding rolled her eyes at her. That's true. Then, Little Bean turned around and saw Qi Ning wearing a dark yellow bikini. She had a great figure. Qi Ning worked out all year round, so her body was the golden ratio. Her breasts weren't too big, but they weren't small either. Plus, she had a beautiful face and a pure and beautiful aura. Normal men wouldn't be able to resist her. The problem was, it was really awkward to give the phone to the two of them. Siyu was still in bed, his eyes still hazy with sleep. Qi Ning, on the other hand, was having fun and was dripping wet. Qin Zhao Zhao must have picked this moment on purpose. Hi. Qi Ning was embarrassed. She couldn't just hang up, so she could only force herself to greet Su Yu. Good morning. Suyu's face also looked unnatural. It's noon here. Oh. Suyu was still embarrassed. You, the two of them spoke at the same time, you first. Suyu immediately said politely like a gentleman. You're Suyu. I remember seeing you last time, but a lot of things happened at home and we didn't have much time. Yeah, that's true. Suyu nodded. Thank you for taking care of my sister-in-law and nieces. You're welcome. It's what I should do. Huamin and I are good friends, Suyu explained. Oh, have you been busy with work recently? Not bad. It's the end of the year, so there's a lot going on. How about you? Suyu asked politely. My dad's been busy. I took a few days off to play with my nieces. The two of them are very troublesome, aren't they? When it came to the twins, Suyu seemed to be more natural. Yeah, they're so mischievous. Sometimes, the things they say scare me out of my wits. It's shocking, but they're so cute. I really like them. Qi Ning loved her nieces from the bottom of her heart. She really did treat them like her own children. You'll get used to it. Pudding is mature and experienced. Little Bean looks like a good girl, but she's actually very scheming. In the future, if they ask you any questions, you have to be careful with your answers. It might be a trap. Yeah, I noticed that too. That's why I'm trying not to answer, Qi Ning laughed. Where are your brother and sister-in-law? Suyu asked tentatively. Oh, they're right behind me. Look. Qi Ning didn't think much of it and turned the camera around. He aimed at Huamin and Qin Chu, who were not far behind him. They were walking hand in hand, facing the sea breeze. Although he was far away, Suyu could still recognize Huamin's figure at a glance. Then, for some reason, his heart began to pound. I have something to do. Get up, wash your face, and brush your teeth. When Pudding comes back, you can explain to them. Okay. Then, Suyu hung up the phone, then, he slowly got up with one hand on his chest. He still felt pain somewhere in his heart. He should be happy to see her happy, shouldn't he? Why did this happen? Not far away, the twins saw Qi Ning put down her phone and immediately walked over. That's not good. He hung up so soon. Weren't we having a good time just now? Pudding was a bit puzzled. Did Bimbo Jian come and Handsome Sue hung up? Little Bean guessed. Impossible. Bimbo Jian isn't that attractive. Could it be? Pudding glanced at Qi Ning and then looked at her mother who was not far away. She had a bad feeling. Could it be what, sis? Nothing, Pudding didn't say anything. Instead, she jogged over. Auntie, didn't I tell you not to hang up? He hung up. He's busy, so I can't just hang up and not hang up, Qi Ning explained. Auntie. Don't you think Suyu is super handsome today? It's such a happy thing to video chat with him so early in the morning. He's not wearing any makeup. He even looks a bit silly, Pudding smiled and asked Qi Ning. Chapter 1920. He's very handsome. Okay. Stop asking me these useless questions, it makes me feel so awkward. Let's go, I'll take you guys for a swim. Qi Ning was embarrassed by Pudding's plan to video call Suyu so early in the morning. Therefore, she didn't continue talking about Suyu with Pudding. Instead, she continued to play on the beach with the two little guys. When they returned home that night, the twins finished their dinner in a daze and fell asleep on the sofa. Qin Chu and Mama Qin each carried one of them upstairs to rest, Huamin and Qin Ning sat in the yard in front of the mansion, drinking coffee and looking at the peaceful night sky. Sis-in-law. When you were at your lowest, did you ever think about giving up on my brother? Qin Ning asked softly. What kind of giving up are you talking about? Breaking up with him or? When everyone thinks my brother is dead, do you also think that he's really dead? To be honest, when I was at my lowest, I thought that way. But most of the time, I was willing to believe that your brother was still alive. It's because of this belief that I managed to hold on until now. Sis-in-law. I heard. Suyu likes you a lot. When Qin Ning said this, she was a bit hesitant. In the past, she didn't know much about Suyu. She only knew that he was a man who really liked her. He was her brother's strongest love rival. But now, it seemed that it was because of this love rival that saved her brother. Because of this, Huamin and the twins were able to live peacefully for 4 years and return to Qin Chu's embrace. Therefore, whether or not Suyu loved Huamin, he was still a savior to the Qin family. You know Suyu. Huamin was slightly surprised. He thought that Qin Ning hadn't been in China for very long, so she shouldn't have interacted with Suyu. Oh, I don't know him. It's just that he's been video chatting with Pudding and Little Bean these days, so I got to know him a little. I think he's a nice guy, Huamin nodded. Yeah, Suyu is a very simple-minded person. He's very real. He never pretends, and he doesn't care about pretending, so it's not tiring to get along with him. Sister-in-law, have you ever done anything to him? Even just a little bit. Qin Ning tried to see Huamin's expression. After 5 seconds of silence, Huamin smiled faintly. If it weren't for your brother, I think I would have fallen in love with Suyu without hesitation. But there are no ifs in life. After I met your brother, I really couldn't fall in love with anyone else. Maybe he cast a spell on me, so even if my brother didn't go back to you, you still wouldn't be with Suyu, right? Many people had asked this question before, including Suyu, Tang Chuan, Jiang Shaowei, and Zhu Lingling. Huamin's answer was clear enough, so she didn't mind saying it again. Yes, Ning Ning, even if your brother didn't go back, I still wouldn't be with Suyu. After I met your brother, my heart already belonged to someone else. Even if he's dead and gone, our beautiful memories are still there. I didn't lose my memory, so I can't forget him. I really can't fall in love with someone else. I really can't do that. Yeah, I understand. Sister-in-law, you're just like my brother. You're both infatuated. Qin Ning sincerely admired Huamin. That's why we're the most suitable people in the world. Huamin smiled. Then, he looked at Qin Ning and said, Your brother, the past 4 years must have been very hard, right? My brother didn't tell you. Qin Ning was slightly surprised. Chapter 1921. I did, but you know how your brother is. He's very introverted. He only tells me the good news and not the bad news. He's afraid that I'll be sad, so he always avoids the important things and talks about the trivial things. But I can feel that he's been through a lot over the past 4 years. Although it's been hard for me, I still have so many friends and family around me. He knows that I'm pregnant, but he can't go back. He must be very sad. No one in this world could truly empathize with what Qin Chu was going through, but Huamin could still imagine what it must have been like for Qin Chu. She didn't even dare to imagine what kind of life Mr. Qin had been living for the past 4 years. She was afraid that she wouldn't be able to take it. Huamin's words made Qin Ning fall silent for a while. It's okay. It's okay if you don't want to talk about it. Huamin could tell that Qin Ning was hesitant, so he comforted her. Sis-in-law. It's not that I don't want to talk about it, but my brother doesn't want me to. He definitely doesn't want to tell you. In the past 4 years, my brother hasn't said much and spent most of his time alone. Before and after those painful surgeries, he had to look at pictures of you and the babies. There's one picture of you that I don't know if you still remember it. It's a picture of you in high school with a ponytail and a short skirt. My brother treasured it so much that he put it under his pillow in the hospital and wouldn't leave it. One time, when the nurse came to change the sheets, she accidentally flipped the picture on the floor. He, who had always been calm and collected, was furious. He smashed everything in the room and even wanted to leave the hospital that day. You know, I've known him for so many years, but I've never seen him so angry. So, I think, in the days without you, your picture is everything to him. It's even his will to live. When Qin Ning finished speaking, Huamin's face was already covered in tears. Although Huamin was mentally prepared for this, hearing it from Qin Ning's mouth still made his heart ache. If she had been by his side for the past 4 years, he wouldn't have had such a hard time. He wouldn't have had to go through multiple surgeries, and he wouldn't have had to face the wall alone in the hospital. Compared to Qin Chu, Huamin was blessed. Because at least Su Yu, the Su family, and so many friends were with her. Sis-in-law, are you okay? Qin Ning handed her a tissue. I'm fine, then let's not talk about it anymore. We still have to go to Disneyland tomorrow. You should go to bed early. My brother will scold me for talking nonsense when he sees this. All right. Huamin stood up and walked back into the living room. Qin Chu and his father were watching financial television. Are you done? Okay, I'm going upstairs to take a shower. You should sleep early too. Huamin tried his best to control himself and make himself look normal. Qin Chu still felt that there was something wrong with her mood. He stood up and looked at Huamin's back, then at Qin Ning who was outside. He walked towards Qin Ning, brother. Qin Ning felt a little guilty. What nonsense did you talk to your sister-in-law about now? Qin Ning looked at Qin Ning lovingly. Although his tone was reproachful, his expression wasn't cold. Nothing, we were just chatting. Were you really chatting? Then why is she crying? Mr. Qin obviously didn't believe her. She's crying. Really? You must be seeing things. Did sand get into her eyes? Do you think this is the Sahara Desert? That sand can blow at any time. Qin Ning didn't dare to say anything and continued to feel guilty. I'll deal with you later. Qin Chu reached out his finger and poked Qin Ning's little head. Then, he turned around. After taking 2 steps, he suddenly remembered something. He turned around and looked at Qin Ning with a serious expression. Ning, you didn't tell her about that, right? Qin Ning froze for a moment before she realized what he meant. Chapter 1922. Qin Ning immediately shook her head. No, big brother, do I look like someone who doesn't know her place? I'd rather die than say anything about that. Okay, that's good. Qin Chu nodded in relief and turned to go upstairs. When Qin Chu went upstairs, Huamin had already showered and was lying in bed with a fashion magazine in her hand. Did you see the kids? Huamin nodded. Yeah, they're already asleep. Maybe they're tired from playing too much today. Okay, we don't have to get up too early tomorrow. Let them sleep well. We can go to Disney anytime. You decide. Huamin didn't seem to be in a good mood. Qin Chu took off his white short-sleeved shirt, revealing his bronzed skin. His six-pack was so perfect that it made people drool. He walked over, sat on the bed, and put his arm around Huamin's shoulder, letting her lean on his chest. What? Seducing me? Huamin looked at him, amused. Seducing you? You surrendered with one kiss. Qin Chu looked down and laughed at her. Pfft, egomaniac. How about, we try it? Chin Chu teased her on purpose. He loved to see Huamin turn into a shy little girl and act coquettishly in his arms. In front of him, Huamian would never be the arrogant and calm goddess she used to be. She would always be the innocent and simple little girl he had loved for years. Honey. Huamin turned around and put her arms around Chin Chu's neck, her voice softening. What? Do you want it? Chin Chu teased her on purpose. Can't we have a nice chat? Yes, let's talk after we do it, okay? No. Then let's talk first, then we'll do it. Huamin, why did it feel like Mr. Chin had completely tricked her after all these twists and turns? She had a high IQ, but when it came to Chin Chu, she immediately turned into a dumb little girl. Honey, be serious, I have something to say. Okay, go ahead, honey. Chin Chu looked at her gently. Honey, you've had a harder time than me these past 4 years, right? No, I'm fine in the States. Mom and Dad are here, and so are Uncle and Ning Ning. I don't lack food or drink. I'm fine, but you're the hardest. You're lying. You're not doing well at all, honey. Did Ning Ning say something to you? Don't listen to her, she's always exaggerating. Chin Chu didn't want Huamin to worry, so he tried his best to cover it up. Ning Ning didn't say it, but I can imagine. Actually, everyone saw how hard it was for me to take care of Ning Ning, but no one saw how hard it was for you. No matter how bad it was for me, I had so many people to take care of me, and I was protected by the Su family, but you had to overcome the pain, go through multiple surgeries, and endure the loneliness of missing us. It's okay, it's all in the past. Honey, aren't you fine now? Chin Chu, you're an idiot. Huamin burst into tears. Yes, I'm an idiot, but my wife is a genius. Chin Chu held Huamin in his arms and comforted him carefully. Mr. Chin, from now on, I won't allow you to be so strong. Even if you're a man, there will be times when you're tired. I just want you to share your happiness and sadness with me. We'll go through thick and thin together, and when you're sad, I'll be there for you. You don't have to shoulder everything alone. You're a human, not a god. Honey, I know. I'll listen to you from now on. At this moment, Huamin's heart ached for Chin Chu. Chin Chu had been in so much pain for the past 4 years, but he still had to pretend that nothing happened and face the criticism of everyone. Even fans who didn't know the truth would post comments on his Weibo, saying that he was an irresponsible coward. However, Huamin knew that Chin Chu did this for her own good. Because in Chin Chu's eyes, anything that happened to her was a big deal. Therefore, he would always humiliate himself and protect Huamin. In the blurry night, Chin Chu held Huamin in his arms, and they sat there quietly. At the same time, in a high-class apartment in Los Angeles, an old man in a white lab coat came out of the lab. Professor, young madam's family is coming to Los Angeles tomorrow. Do you want to meet them? After all, it's so close. The assistant reported. Chapter 1923. Professor Lu's footsteps paused. Mian is here. Yeah, the twins are here too, and so is her lover. Miss Yenner just called, but I didn't dare to call you because you were in the lab, so I told her. Pudding and Little Bean are here too. Professor Lu's eyes grew warmer and warmer. He had the kindness of an ordinary old man. Yeah, they'll arrive in Los Angeles tomorrow and go to Disneyland. I heard that Miss Yenner's information is very accurate. Forget it. I can't let my guard down. I've been hiding for so many years and it'll be over if they find out. Yenner and I are used to it, but what about Mian and the kids? Professor Lu gritted his teeth and decided to leave his daughter and granddaughter. The next morning, Chin Chu, Huamin, and Qin Ning flew to Los Angeles with the twins. Since Huamin was a Disneyland fan, her babies were also fans. Even the usually calm Pudding started to look around curiously when they entered the park. Wow! Sis, it's so beautiful here. Little Bean exclaimed. Daddy, let's have fun. Don't be in a hurry to leave, okay? I heard there'll be a fireworks show tonight. Little Bean looked at Qin Chu worriedly. Okay, we're not in a hurry. You can play as long as you want. We'll stay at the Disneyland Hotel tonight, yay. That's great. Daddy, I love you. Little Bean began to hug Qin Chu's leg and act like a spoiled child. Qin Ning laughed. Big brother, your daughter is amazing. She can make people dizzy with her words. When she grows up, she'll definitely be a little girl. Auntie, what about me? Pudding was immediately dissatisfied with Qin Ning's evaluation of Little Bean. Haha, you're even more amazing. You're a precocious little beauty. You know everything. I'm impressed. Qin Ning still didn't know that the two seemingly unintentional video calls with Su Yu were actually part of Pudding's careful plan. She thought the little girl was mature and didn't know she was so amazing. As a Disneyland fan, Huamin also came to Los Angeles for the first time. After coming in, she couldn't even care less about her daughter. She grabbed Qin Chu's hand and started taking selfies like a little girl. Hubby, come on, let's take a picture together. Huamin said excitedly as he held his phone. Mommy, what about us? Little Bean asked, feeling wronged. You too, let Auntie take the photos for you. Sis. I think Mommy is crazy. She's having so much fun that she forgot about us. She doesn't even want to take us with her. Mommy is trying to find her lost youth, Pudding replied. Auntie will take pictures for you. Qin Ning took out her phone and took pictures of her nieces. Huamin took a selfie and slightly edited it before posting it on his WeChat moments. Like a child, he bragged excitedly, I've finally arrived at this magical place. It's so beautiful. Below was a selfie of her and Mr. Qin. The two of them were handsome and beautiful. Qin Chu put his arm around Huamin's shoulder, and their faces were pressed against each other. Qin Chu smiled, which was rare of him. The funny thing was that Huamin was wearing a Disneyland hairpin on her head, making her look extremely cute. Who would have thought that this was GK's chief collector, Huamin? The moment she posted it, her WeChat moments exploded. Chapter 1924. Zhu Lingling, wow, 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 who's this? He's so smug. Jiang Xiaowei, wow, someone's starting to show off their love. Their kids are all grown up and they're still doing this. Shame on them. Jing Jixin, sis, can you take me with you next time? I'm working overtime at the company and it's so cool to see you go out and have fun. Ni Yang, my sister is still the prettiest. Her smile is so natural. But I'm surprised that President Qin is smiling. It's so magical. Jixin replied to Ni Yang, it's rare. Brother-in-law only smiles like this when he's with my sister. Bella, President Qin, President Hua, I'm going to swallow this PDA with tears in my eyes. Chen Jie, director is so cool. Gao Ran, Mr. Qin's gesture is wrong. You should put your hand on Huamin's chest. That's called PDA. Zhu Lingling replied to Gao Ran, is that something a police officer should say? Vulgar. Gao Ran replied to Zhu Lingling, I'm sorry, honey. Please enlighten me. Zhu Lingling replied to Gao Ran, you should say. Mr. Qin should just put his hand under Mian's skirt. Gao Ran replied to Zhu Lingling, you're really experienced. So perverted. Huamin replied to Zhu Lingling, the one above, come down. I promise I won't beat you to death. Tang Chuan, I don't think they're a good match. Huamin and Lord Su still look like husband and wife. Huamin replied to Tang Chuan, young Master Tang, did you forget to take your medicine before you went out today? Su Yu, no bean and pudding. Bad review. Huamin replied to Su Yu, I don't accept bad reviews. Thank you. Honey, why are you so happy? Qin Chu looked at Huamin and giggled. These vulgar people, they're making a mess of my comments. Did he praise you? Qin Chu asked. How did you know? Am I praising you? Huamin, your husband is so handsome. Huamin, Mr. Qin, please put away your arrogance. How could Mr. Qin still have the mood to joke at a time like this? After entering the park, Huamin had more fun than a child. He tried all kinds of things. Even the merry-go-round went up with Pudding and Little Bean. Qin Chu was in charge of recording the video for the three of them. It was filled with warmth. After playing for more than 3 hours, the twins couldn't take it anymore. Qi Ning brought them to a square where there was an ice cream shop. Everyone sat there and rested. At this time, an old man selling colorful balloons suddenly appeared in the square. He had a white beard and was dressed very plainly. Most importantly, his balloons were too beautiful. Unlike ordinary balloons, he twisted the balloons into all kinds of small animals, which were very vivid. Wow, the balloons over there are so cute, Little Bean exclaimed. Pudding seemed to be interested as well. She stood up and looked over. More and more children went over to buy them. The twins were tempted. Do you like them? I'll go and buy them for you. Qi Ning said as she stood up and walked over. After a short while, she came back with a slightly troubled expression. What's wrong? Are they very expensive? Huamin asked. Qi Ning shook her head. No, they're not for sale. The old man said they don't need to pay for them. You can go and get them yourself. Really? That's weird. Huamin was slightly surprised. Wow, that old man is giving them to us for free. So generous. I think I want the one in the shape of a deer. Then I'll give it to Big Brother Xiaolu. Little Bean pursed her lips. Big Brother Xiaolu. Huamin was confused. He's a celebrity on TV. She fell in love with him after watching a reality show, Pudding explained helplessly. Huamin was speechless. Honey, what should we do? Huamin didn't know what to do and turned to look at Qin Chu. Qin Chu frowned slightly. Could it be a trap? We should be careful. Chapter 1925. Qi Ning thought about her brother's words and shook her head. Big brother, I don't think so. I checked the old man and he didn't even have any pockets. The security at Disneyland is very strict, so there's no way he would have a weapon. Plus, we have bodyguards, so we should be fine in broad daylight. Qin Chu didn't say anything, but his expression showed that he didn't want his daughters to go. Pudding turned around and walked up to Qin Chu. She hugged his neck and said, Daddy, I think that old man isn't a bad guy. Pudding, bad guys don't write the word bad on their faces. There's also a word called fake in this world. Qin Chu patiently explained to his daughters. I know, but I feel like the old man's eyes are very loving and kind. I want to see him. Pudding rarely asked for anything. This was the first time she begged her dad like this. Qin Chu didn't have the heart to refuse. How about this? Daddy will go with you, okay? Qin Chu was still worried. Okay. Pudding nodded excitedly. Then, Qin Chu held his daughter's hands and slowly walked toward the old man selling balloons. The old man saw the twins from afar. Then, he smiled in a friendly manner. Kids, do you want balloons? The old man asked. Okay. Pudding and Little Bean nodded at the same time. But, there's only one left. The old man waved the dear balloon in his hand. Pudding and Little Bean didn't say anything. Only then did Chin Chu realize that there was only one balloon left. He couldn't help but blame himself. If he had come earlier, there wouldn't be only one left. Daddy will go to the store over there and buy more for you, okay? Chin Chu coaxed the twins. Before Little Bean could say anything, Pudding said, "Give it to Little Bean first. She likes deer." "No, Little Bean doesn't have one. I don't want one either." He didn't expect Little Bean, who always looked childish, to be so generous. Chin Chu was very pleased. "You're so smart. How about this, after you call me Grandpa, I'll make one for you, okay?" The old man smiled. "Okay." The twins nodded and then said in unison, "Hello, Grandpa." The old man smiled lovingly. Then, out of nowhere, he took out a few more balloons and blew them up. Then, it swiftly twisted into a little rabbit. Who wants a little rabbit? Sister likes it. Give her a rabbit. Little Bean was overjoyed. The old man placed the rabbit in Pudding's hand and the dear balloon in Little Bean's hand. The two children instantly revealed innocent smiles. Children's matters were always the most innocent. They didn't understand luxury brands, nor did they understand jewelry and watches. She only liked those simple and free love balloons. Seeing the two little fellows smiling so sweetly, the old man couldn't help but reach out to touch them. However, Chin Chu reacted quickly and pulled his daughter back. The old man smiled awkwardly. His hand missed. "Thank you." Chin Chu apologized, but he was still very vigilant. "You're welcome. Is that their mother?" The old man pointed at Huamin and asked. "Yes, the one with long hair is my mother, and the one with short hair is my aunt," Chin Chu explained. The old man nodded with a smile. Looking at Huamin's direction, his eyes seemed to become deep and profound. Chin Chu turned around and left with his daughter. "Let's go back. Otherwise, Mom will be worried." Behind Chin Chu, the old man exclaimed, "The two babies are very cute. Their eyes are as beautiful as their mother's." Chin Chu frowned slightly. When he turned around, the old man was already gone. It was a bit strange. In a corner of a changing room in Disneyland, the old man took off his human skin mask, revealing a weathered face. Just then, his watch rang. He picked up, and heard Lu Yen ask, "Dad, did you see my sister and the babies?" Chapter 1926. "I did." Professor Lu's voice was filled with excitement. "Wow! How is it? Tell me about it." Lu Yan was obviously more excited than her dad. "Your sister is just like your mom. She has delicate features and beautiful eyes. So do the twins. I can't believe it when I see them. I feel like I'm dreaming. Do they look like the pictures?" Lu Yan was full of anticipation. "They look closer than the pictures. Especially the twins. They look so sweet when they smile. Their eyes are like crescent moons. Little Bean's face is a little rounder than Pudding's. I'm so jealous of you." When Lu Yan heard that her dad had disguised himself to meet her sister and the twins, she was very excited. Although she had seen her sister in person before, she had only brushed shoulders with her sister and didn't get a good look at her. Now that the twins were 3 years old, she couldn't see them as their aunt. She was so unlucky to be chased all over the world by that big psycho Ian. "Where are you now?" the professor asked. "Russia. I'm relieved that you're with Chow Fei. Don't run around." "Okay." Dad. Although Lu Yen didn't want to give up, she still nodded and pretended to be obedient. Professor Lu met his daughter and his other daughter in a different way. Although it wasn't long, he was already satisfied. Mian. After Ian dies, if I'm still alive, I'll definitely go find you. I hope I can see you again when I'm still alive. I want to hear you call me Dad, Professor Lu murmured to himself as he watched the family of 4 disappear into the distance. That old man was a little strange. Chin Chu still felt that something was wrong. He had a feeling that the old man who gave him the balloons wasn't an ordinary person. What's strange? Huamin looked at him curiously. I don't know how to describe it. Anyways, it's not right. Okay, big brother. Don't make a fuss. It's not easy for us to come out and play together. Don't be a wet blanket, okay? Qin Ning reminded him with a smile. Qin Chu didn't say anything else. The family of 4 spent the whole day at Disneyland. At night, they stayed at their own hotel in Disneyland. The twins were very satisfied after watching the fireworks show. Qin Ning and the twins stayed in a luxurious suite with 8 foreign bodyguards around them. Qin Chu and Huamin stayed in the suite next door. There were also 2 bodyguards outside the door. Qin Chu became more and more cautious. Although he was familiar with the United States, he still didn't want to let his guard down. Especially when Su Yu told him that Huasiqian's men were following them. 10:30 in the evening when Huamin came out of the shower, he saw Qin Chu standing on the balcony and talking on the phone with a serious expression. His eyebrows were also slightly wrinkled. Qin Chu rarely had such an unpleasant expression. Although he was always dull, it was rare for him to be unhappy. Huamin walked over barefoot without making a sound. Get rid of them all. That's all. Qin Chu's voice was frighteningly cold. Honey, who's calling? After Huamin said this, Qin Chu quickly hung up the phone. Yeah, it's about the company. In China. Huamin was surprised. No, it's about the headquarters. Oh. I see. Huamin nodded. Your hair is still wet, why are you out here? Before Huamin could say anything, Qin Chu grabbed her hand and dragged her into the living room. Then, he picked up the hair dryer on the table and began to dry Huamin's messy hair. Every time this happened, Huamin would feel very happy. She could enjoy the care and gentleness that Qin Chu gave her like she was his own daughter. Honey, yeah. Chapter 1927. I suddenly thought of a serious problem, Huamin said in all seriousness. Go ahead, honey. I think, in our next life, I'll be a man and you'll be a woman. I'll definitely marry you then, okay? Huamin said with a smile. Why? Because you'll definitely be gentle and virtuous. You'll cook well, and you'll do housework. You'll even blow dry your hair so carefully. You'll be awesome. Huamin praised Mr. Qin, but, if I were a woman, I wouldn't marry you, Qin Chu said slowly. Huamin immediately pouted. Why? Because you're not good-looking. Qin Chu teased her on purpose. She thought that Huamin would be angry, but he didn't this time. Instead, he crossed his arms and replied calmly, Is looks that important? No matter how good-looking you are, it's the same with the lights off. Qin Chu's heart was in a mess. Since when did his Mian become so dirty? It seemed like, when he returned to China, he had to have a good talk with Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling. One is marked by the company one keeps. He hadn't watched over her for 4 years, and his daughter had become a female hooligan. Why aren't you saying anything? Huamin couldn't help but laugh. Honey, you're right. Qin Chu continued to help dry her hair. Perhaps it was because they were too tired from playing, or perhaps it was because they hadn't been so relaxed in a long time. Huamin slept soundly in Qin Chu's arms. Qin Chu's arms were numb, but he didn't want to move, for fear that Mian would wake up. He tilted his head and looked at her closely. He could even see her eyelashes clearly. Even if he hugged her like this every night and spent every day with her, he still felt that it wasn't enough. It was as if he didn't even want to sleep, because a person's life was imperceptibly slipping away. He felt that if he slept a little longer, he would lose tens of seconds of time with Huamin. It would be a pity. Qin Chu knew that his way of thinking was wrong, but it was hard to control himself. Huamin didn't know that Qin Chu cared so much about her now, and to such an extent. The next morning after breakfast, the family played in the park for the whole morning and took many beautiful photos. In the afternoon, Qin Ning and the bodyguards took the twins to Qin Ning's father's villa. Qin Chu drove a dark blue Ferrari sports car and took Huamin on a road trip. They were going to travel all over California along the most beautiful roads. Along the way, Huamin was as excited as a child, looking at the beautiful scenery on the road. Actually, the scenery in the United States was not as varied as that in China. But every time you go to a place, you feel different. Especially in the quiet countryside, looking at the villas in the suburbs, gardens, and endless lawns, one's mood was really different. The sun was setting in the west. Qin Chu turned on the music and played the familiar song, Hotel California. The familiar lyrics echoed in the car, accompanied by extreme speed and passion. At this moment, his heart and mind were completely empty. Huamin, who was always reserved, couldn't help but stand up in the car. He reached out his hand above the convertible sports car, facing the evening wind and the sunset, listening to the most moving and emotional song, Hotel California. Huamin was so moved that he almost cried. He felt a lump in his throat. "Honey, you look so touched, so, do you think of something?" Qin Chu asked, even though he already knew the answer. Chapter 1928. Come on. Do you think I'm that forgetful? Huamin pursed her lips and smiled. Then, the two of them looked at each other and smiled. Needless to say, they both knew what the other was thinking. 4 years ago, Qin Chu came back to China and married Huamin. Although the method wasn't very glorious, Huamin wasn't willing. But fortunately, they didn't miss it. Once, when Qin Chu drove Huamin to listen to this song, they talked about California. Qin Chu said that California was very beautiful, and that he had to bring Huamin there if he had the chance. He was never a person who liked to brag, so even if it seemed like an unintentional promise, he had to do his best to fulfill it. His schedule for this trip to the States was very tight, but even so, he still squeezed out some time. He took Huamin with him, and the two of them spent some time alone, watching the sunset in California. At this moment, Huamin felt very satisfied. The scene that he had once described as a beautiful dream could actually come true. "Honey, thank you for helping me fulfill a small wish." Huamin smiled sweetly. This most beautiful side was deeply imprinted in Qin Chu's memory. Sometimes, a person's eyes were the best camera. They could record the charm that a camera couldn't capture. In Qin Chu's eyes, the mountains and rivers couldn't compare to Huamin's smile. Perhaps, this was what it felt like to love someone. The two of them drove all the way, and by 7 p.m., the sky was already dark. Plus, they didn't pass by a particularly big city. For safety reasons, Huamin didn't let Qin Chu drive. "Honey, let's find a place to rest. We'll continue tomorrow morning. I'm not tired, or you can drive for a while. I promise I won't crawl under your skirt." "Huamin, that's not the point. The point is, I really don't know how to drive a car here. I'm not used to the steering wheel." What if I get into an accident? I don't have an American driver's license. Alright, I know what you mean. The GPS shows that there is a motel 4 kilometers ahead. We can rest there for the night. Yes, yes. Huamin nodded in satisfaction. Finally, the two of them stopped at a pretty motel in the suburbs. Chin Chu paid the money and communicated with the boss. After parking the car, they washed it. Then, Chin Chu and Huamin entered the hotel. She took a shower and changed her clothes. It was Huamin's first time staying at a motel. Because it was rare in China, she was still full of curiosity. Is it fun? Chin Chu asked her. Yeah, this is the first time I've seen a hotel with a parking lot connected to the rooms, and the decorations are so unique. It's a refreshing feeling. Americans pay attention to the mood. They won't deliberately set up a sex hotel to let you find that kind of mood. That's true. Huamin smiled. Are you hungry? Chin Chu lovingly touched her face. I'm okay. Let's go get something to eat. After speaking, Chin Chu pulled Huamin out of the hotel. The two of them wore simple white couple t-shirts and looked a few years younger. Boss, do you have anything to eat? Chin Chu asked in fluent English. Hamburgers, sandwiches, and fried drumsticks, the tall and strong Caucasian boss replied. Chin Chu looked at Huamin. Hamburgers, Huamin whispered. 2 hamburgers and 2 Cokes, thank you. After speaking, Chin Chu took out US dollars and placed them on the table. Then, the two of them sat at the table next to the bed to rest. Just then, 5 young people suddenly came in. 3 of them were Caucasian, and 2 were black. They didn't look old, but they were dressed in a hip-hop style. There were many tattoos on their arms. He looked just like a hooligan. The young man in the lead glanced at Chin Chu and Huamin as soon as he walked in. Then, he whispered something in English, and those people laughed maniacally. There was obvious mockery in their laughter. Huamin began to feel uneasy. Chapter 1929. Chin Chu could tell that Huamin was a little uneasy, so he immediately raised his hand and placed it on the back of her hand. He tried to reassure her. Huamin looked up at Chin Chu and smiled. The couple had a tacit understanding. Just then, they heard a burst of laughter behind them. What followed was unbearable swear words in English. Huamin and Chin Chu could understand them, and they heard them very clearly. Chin Chu's face immediately darkened. Huamin was afraid that he would be impulsive, so she immediately reminded him in a low voice, "Honey, I'm full. Let's go back to the room." Huamin was abroad, so it was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Plus, they didn't have bodyguards with them, and the other party had 5 tall and strong people. A wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. Although they had only eaten half a hamburger, Huamin said that she was full. She grabbed Chin Chu's hand and got up to leave. She wanted to go back to the room to avoid this boring mess. Chin Chu seemed to understand Huamin's intention. In order to reassure his wife, he wasn't very happy. However, he still listened to Huamin and got up to follow her back. When they passed by those people, suddenly, one of the hooligans stretched out his leg to trip Huamin, and he cursed, "Bitch." This word completely angered Chin Chu. He turned around and let go of Huamin's hand. He punched the blonde white guy who stretched out his leg to trip Huamin. With a loud bang, the punch landed heavily, and there was a cry of pain. Because of the impact of the fist, the young man fell from the stool to the ground. He fell hard. Then, his colleagues all stood up, and glared at Huamin and Chin Chu. "Honey, stand behind me." "No, I want to be by your side." "I don't want to be protected by you." Huamin was worried that Qin Chu's old leg injury would flare up again, so he was determined to stand in front of Qin Chu even if he was injured. Qin Chu lowered his head and coaxed Huamin affectionately. "Good boy, come behind me. Just give me a minute. Honey." Huamian's face was filled with worry. "Trust your husband." Qin Chu looked at her tenderly. Finally, Huamin stopped being stubborn. He was also afraid that he would be a burden to Mr. Qin, so he obediently hid behind him. Although she was extremely unwilling and worried, she knew that Mr. Qin had his own pride. Sure enough, a few young men rushed up. The two black men were burly. However, they only had brute force and their movements were relatively clumsy. Qin Chu's movements were very clean. She had seen it before when Huamin was kidnapped. Therefore, she had confidence in Mr. Qin. 5 pieces of trash shouldn't be a problem. However, at that moment, one of the black men picked up a white baseball bat from the side. This thing was very heavy. If he was hit, he would be seriously injured, especially if he was hit in the head. "Hubby, be careful," Huamin yelled. Just then, the little yellow feather that was lying on the ground got up and pounced at Huamian, baring its fangs and claws. Seeing this, Qin Chu immediately dashed over and grabbed the punk's collar. Then, he punched him again. This punch was even stronger than the previous one. The punk immediately felt dizzy, as if the sky was filled with stars. He fainted on the ground again and couldn't get up. The hotel owner seemed to be used to this. He calmly washed the cups while watching the fight. He was as calm as if he was watching a TV show. Huamin, on the other hand, was worried for Qin Chu. Just as Qin Chu knocked out 4 people and there was only one left, the tall white man suddenly took out a gun and pointed it at Qin Chu. Huamin's face immediately turned pale. "You little bastard, come on, I'll shoot you," the man scolded ferociously. Qin Chu didn't say anything. He just looked at the man quietly. Chapter 1930. Just then, a black man got up from the ground and staggered toward Qin Chu. He threw a punch at Qin Chu's face. He thought that Qin Chu wouldn't dodge because his accomplice had a gun. However, Qin Chu dodged nimbly. His punch missed and he fell to the ground again. "Fuck, if you dare to move, I'll kill you," the white man with the gun shot at Qin Chu. Huamin was so scared that his heart almost jumped out of his chest. "Honey, be careful," she screamed. At this moment, a gun appeared in Qin Chu's hand. Huamin recognized it. It was Qin Chu's gun. She had seen him use it before in China. The man missed Qin Chu. Before he could fire a second shot, Qin Chu shot him in the wrist. His gun fell to the ground. Another hooligan wanted to pick it up, but Qin Chu made another sound. Then, a scream was heard. Whoever dared to pick it up would be shot in the wrist. After a while, no one dared to pick it up. "Crazy, fuck, you're crazy, mentally ill." The man covered his wrist in embarrassment and cursed at Qin Chu. Then, someone called the police. The police came quickly. What happened? The police officer was white and there were 4 men behind him. He drove a police car and looked very impressive. Before Qin Chu and Huamin could explain, the hooligans complained. He blabbered on and on, implying that Qin Chu was the one who shot them. The police officer saw that the hooligans were locals and Qin Chu and Huamin were foreigners, so he was very unfriendly to them. He walked over and asked, "Can you speak English?" "Of course." Qin Chu looked at the police officer coldly. "You're suspected of assault. We're taking you back to the police station." "Wait. Aren't you going to ask about the cause and effect?" Qin Chu spoke to the police officer in fluent English. His expression was also very unhappy. I've already asked clearly. The police officer was rude and unreasonable. But we didn't say anything. You only heard their side of the story. Huamin was also unconvinced. These hooligans took the initiative to cause trouble, and then the guilty party actually sued them first. The most disgusting thing was that the police officers actually believed them, or rather, directly protected them. Huamin did not expect that the United States, which had always talked about world peace and love for wireless, would do such a crazy thing. His mood for traveling was greatly reduced. You are foreigners. Why should I believe you? The police officer said confidently. Huamin pointed at the camera angrily and said, the whole process is recorded here. You can watch the recording for yourselves. Unexpectedly, the hotel owner interrupted, the video surveillance is broken. Sorry. At this moment, Huamin realized that they might be in cahoots. They were obviously protecting him. At this moment, Huamin looked at Qin Chu for help. After all, she did not know much about American law. Was she really going to be taken away? Moreover, she was the victim. Wouldn't that be too cowardly? Is this how you enforce the law? Qin Chu looked at the police officer and sneered. What? You're not convinced? Are you? Japanese? No. Huamin immediately denied. Korean. The police officer asked again. We are Chinese. Qin Chu and Huamin said in unison. The group of hooligans and several policemen burst into laughter after hearing this. So you really are Chinese pigs? The hooligans got up from the ground and asked. Shut your stinky mouth. Qin Chu raised his gun and aimed again. The hooligans were so scared that they immediately hid behind the police. Officer, look, they are so rude. Men, take these two away. The police officer ordered and his subordinates immediately rushed up. They impolitely pressed down on Qin Chu and Huamin's shoulders. Wait a minute. Qin Chu coldly said. Chapter 1931. At this moment, everyone looked at Qin Chu. I'm going to call my friend and ask him to come bail me out. Your friend? From China. The police officer's voice was full of mockery. Ha, you'll know when he's here. Qin Chu sneered. Officer, let him call. Maybe he can pay a high bail, one of his subordinates whispered. The police officer nodded. Qin Chu picked up his phone and dialed a number. Then, he said impatiently, I'm in California, less than 30 kilometers from Oakland. I'm at a motel called Moto. The police want to detain me. Come bail me out. Detain you? Don't mess around. The man on the other end chuckled. I'm not messing around. I'll give you half an hour. I don't care if you take a helicopter or a private jet. That's all. Then, Mr. Qin hung up the phone arrogantly. Honey, are you calling Ning Ning? Huamin asked anxiously. After all, Qin Ning was with the twins. To be honest, Huamin didn't want Qin Ning to come. He didn't want his two precious daughters to get involved in this mess. It's not Ning Ning. Qin Chu grabbed Huamin's hand and held it tightly in his palm. Qin Chu gave them half an hour, but it only took them 19 minutes. And they really did come in a helicopter. The roar of the helicopter alerted everyone in the room. When the police officer went out, he was dumbfounded to see the man coming out of the helicopter. I'm not late, right? The man walked out of the helicopter with his subordinates surrounding him. He was wearing a black windbreaker and looked the same as a few years ago. The moment Huamin saw him, she was very touched. Rick. She said softly. Mr. Rick, why are you here? They were surprised to see Rick and were almost scared out of their wits. The Rick family was the biggest gang in the United States and was very powerful. The police didn't dare to touch them. I heard, you want to arrest my friends? Rick asked coldly. I'm really sorry. I really didn't know these two were your friends. Then you're really stupid. Don't you know that he's the big boss of GK headquarters? Rick pointed at Chin Chu. The police officer was dumbfounded. The gangsters were so scared that they turned around and wanted to leave, but they were held down by Rick's men. You want to run? Is it that easy? Mr. Rick, we're sorry. We didn't know. The hooligans were so scared that they almost peed their pants. Forgiving you is something God does, and my task is to send you to God. Then, Rick took out his pistol. Bang, 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 bang. 5 shots were fired. 5 hooligans were instantly shot to death. Why kill him? Chin Chu said faintly, as if he didn't care about his own affairs. Don't you deserve to die? Rick asked. Min was extremely shocked. This was the first time she had seen Rick kill someone with his own hands. Moreover, he had killed someone so casually. So, officer, what did you see just now? Rick blew the smoke out of his gun. He glanced at the African-American police officer whose legs were shaking. No. I didn't see anything. Very good. You can leave now. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Rick. The police officers were so scared that they almost peed their pants. They scrambled in their police cars and fled. Then, Rick slowly walked over and looked at Min with a faint smile. Long time no see, Min. Chapter 1932. Rick, it's been a long time. The last time I saw you was when Little Bean and Pudding were 1 month old. Now, they're 3 years old. Yeah, time flies. Let's get on the helicopter first. I'll take you to New Orleans. That's my territory. Then, Rick led Chin Chu and Min to the helicopter. Wait, there's something else I need to take care of. Then, Rick turned his head. Looking at the motel behind him, he said coldly, burn it all down. Yes, boss. Under Rick's orders, the motel was burned to ashes because the owner protected a few hooligans. Min began to feel uneasy. She felt that the current Rick was similar to the old Rick, but also different. She couldn't tell exactly what she felt. The helicopter flew directly to New Orleans. When Min first heard of this city, she thought of the famous grilled drumsticks in a burger restaurant. It turned out that New Orleans was actually a city, and it was super beautiful. It didn't lose to big cities like New York and Los Angeles at all. The night scenery was also so pleasing to the eye. The helicopter flew directly to Rick's residence. It was an old castle on the outskirts of the city. It looked a little old, but it had a lot of flavor. Unlike South Hill Manor was a modern-style castle built later. Rick's house was a real old castle. It was said that it was built more than 120 years ago. Rick led Chin Chu and Min in and went straight to the dining room. The chefs were busy making a lot of delicious food. There was a lot of food on the table. Let's talk while we eat. Rick gestured for them to start. Chin Chu pulled out a chair for Min and let her sit first. Then, he took the initiative to tie a white scarf around Min's neck. He was very considerate. It's been a few years, but Mr. Chin, you still love your wife so much. Rick smiled. It's been a few years, Rick, and you've learned how to joke. Min laughed as well. He can only joke around with us. After all, he doesn't have many friends, Chin Chu interrupted. You make it sound like you're my only friend. Rick expressed his dissatisfaction. Chin Chu teased, think about it carefully. Isn't that the case? Of course not. Huamin is also my friend, so I have at least two. She doesn't count. She's my wife, the two of us are one, Chin Chu argued. Rick finally spread his hands helplessly and said, "All right, black-bellied Mr. Chin, you win." Then, the three of them chatted as they ate. Huamin no longer cared about the taste of the food. He only cared about the feeling of reuniting with a friend he hadn't seen for a few years. "Why are you two staying at a motel?" "It's not like you," Rick asked. "It's low class, isn't it? That's why my wife came up with the idea." Chin Chu put a small piece of steak into his mouth. "Hey, I'm not taking the blame. You agreed, didn't you?" Huamin pouted. "I meant to drive for a few more hours and spend the night in Oakland. There are a lot of 5-star hotels there. I'm doing it for your own good. Aren't you afraid that the roads will be slippery in the dark?" Huamin pouted. "Yes, honey, you're right." Rick looked at Chin Chu, who still loved his wife so much. He was happy for them from the bottom of his heart. Like Gao Ran, Rick knew how difficult Chin Chu and Huamian's love life was. As a bystander, he felt like he was watching a drama of life and death. More than that, he felt touched. They're already 3 years old. They should be able to talk a lot, right? Rick's eyes were gentle. Chapter 1933. She's not just good at talking. Her words are enough to piss me off. Huamin was both angry and amused at the same time. Just then, Huamin's phone rang. See, what I said came true. Then, Huamin picked up his phone. He turned on the video. "Hi, Mommy." The twins shouted at the same time. "Hi, babies. Where's Daddy?" Little Bean asked obsequiously. "Here." Huamin took out his phone and pointed it at Chin Chu. "Daddy, did you miss me?" Little Bean immediately asked coquettishly. "Of course." Chin Chu smiled. "You're lying. You won't miss me when Mommy is with you. After all, Daddy, you're a man who values women more than daughters." Chin Chu was speechless. Don't blame Daddy. Which man isn't lustful? It's normal. Don't worry, Little Bean. The tsundra pudding began to persuade Little Bean. Rick, who was sitting across from Huamin and Chin Chu, almost spat out the red wine in his mouth. "Pfft, what's that sound?" "Ha! Where are you?" "At a hotel." Little Bean was curious. "No, we're at a friend's house," Huamin answered. "Which friend?" "We know all your friends." Pudding looked at Huamin calmly. "Uncle Rick's house." "Oh. Uncle Rick, where are you?" "Let us see. I heard he's a handsome mixed blood." Rick's eyes lit up when Little Bean heard his name. He looked like a pervert. Huamin had no choice but to turn the phone around and face Rick. "Hi, babies." Rick didn't know they could speak English, so he greeted them in Chinese. "Wow, Uncle Rick, you're so handsome." Little Bean exclaimed. "Uncle Rick, you can speak English." "We can understand." Pudding noticed this detail and kindly reminded him. "Ha, can I?" Rick was also amused. "Not only English, but you can also speak Japanese, Korean, French, German, and Portuguese. We know a lot of languages." Little Bean said proudly. She couldn't wait to show off everything she knew. She was blatantly showing off. "Mr. Chin, your daughter is flirting." "She's showing off and showing off. Aren't you going to do anything about it?" Huamin whispered. "Why should I care? It's my ability, it's my talent. I can't kill it," Mr. Chin said shamelessly. Alright. Like father, like daughter. You two really do have the same genes. Hua-min surrendered. Oh my god, you guys are amazing, Rick immediately praised. Uncle Rick, where do you live? Pudding liked to talk about family matters while Little Bean liked to ask about private matters. I live in New Orleans, Rick replied with a smile. Then the drumsticks in your hometown must be very good. Little Bean was almost drooling. Okay. Yes, it's very good. Come over when you're free. I'll take you to eat. Rick, who always had a cold face, couldn't hold it in anymore as he listened to the twins' golden sentences. He kept laughing. Hua-min whispered into Chin Chu's ear in surprise, "Honey. I've known Rick for so long, but this is the first time I've seen him so many times." Yeah. So, President Hua, your daughters are amazing. Chin Chu laughed. Okay. Uncle Rick, you have to keep your promise. Little Bean was excited. Of course. Then can you come and pick us up now? Rick, don't be nervous. I'm just kidding. Little Bean laughed. Rick, Uncle Rick, do you have a girlfriend? This time, it was Pudding who wanted to know more. Chapter 1934. Ahem. Rick asked awkwardly. Sis, did you forget that Uncle Rick used to be in a relationship with Auntie Cece? Little Bean said. Hua-min was so embarrassed that his cancer was about to explode. He didn't even dare to mention Cece's name because he was afraid that Rick would be sad. He didn't expect that his daughters would successfully trigger the landmine. Upon hearing Cece's name, Rick's expression changed slightly. Chin Chu immediately said, "You don't have to talk to them. Just brush them off. Uncle doesn't have a girlfriend. Uncle is still young. There's no rush." Wrong. It's because you're young that you have to rush. Otherwise, when you get old and find a girlfriend, you won't be able to do anything and you won't be able to have many babies. What a pity. Little Bean lectured seriously. As for Rick, he was completely confused after hearing these words. Little Bean, this is the first time you're video chatting with Uncle Rick. Don't talk about such a deep topic. He won't be able to take it. The older sister scolded the younger sister, "Nieces, you should go to bed. It's late." Qin Ning's friendly voice came from behind. Okay, Auntie. I'll say one last thing to Uncle Rick. Little Bean stuck out her tongue. Uncle Rick, what kind of girls do you like? Little Bean asked. Rick, is this a hard question to answer? No, I don't know what kind of girls I like. Rick was completely confused. Uncle Rick, when are you coming to China to visit us? I'll take you to Oaxacan's ramen. Little Bean smiled sweetly. Chin Chu and Hua-min were both speechless. The two daughters were so shameless when they saw a handsome guy that they even brought up the ramen restaurant that their parents used when they were young. Okay. When I get back, I'll take you guys to eat noodles. Rick was overjoyed by the twins' teasing. Alright, let's not talk about it anymore. Bye-bye, Daddy and Mommy. We love you. Bye. After saying goodbye to Hua-min and Chin Chu, the twins immediately hung up. So, the main topic of this video call is Uncle Rick. It seems like we have to take a step back. Chin Chu was jealous. The feeling of being ignored by her daughters was really unpleasant. It's normal. Whenever I video call Suyu at home, it's as if I don't exist. Hua-min seemed to be used to it. Do they always talk like this? Rick asked. Hua-min nodded, and so did Chin Chu. That's too scary. You two didn't give birth to a baby, it's a demon, Rick said exaggeratedly. Huamin nodded in agreement. I think so too. They just have high IQ and EQ. There's no need to make such a big fuss. Chin Chu looked calm. After the video call, the twins handed over their phones obediently. Then, Qi Ning helped them change into their nightgowns and prepared to take a shower and sleep. Auntie, Pudding called out. Did you see that Rick in the video call just now? Yeah. Is he your daddy's friend? I've seen him a few times before. Qi Ning seemed to be familiar with Rick. Do you think Uncle Rick is more handsome or Uncle Suyu is more handsome? Pudding asked in all seriousness. Why do you always ask such weird questions? Qi Ning was speechless. She didn't know if she was overthinking it, but she kept hearing the word Suyu around her recently. Auntie, choose one. Which one do you think is more handsome? Little Bean asked. Chapter 1935. Little brat. You're always giving me a hard time. Okay. I'll just say one. Rick is more handsome. After all, he's a mixed-blood handsome guy. Am I right? Qi Ning said helplessly. In the end, she gave a random answer. Nonsense. Our handsome Sue is more handsome, okay? Little Bean couldn't take it anymore. You still remember your handsome Sue? I thought you guys forgot about Uncle Suyu after seeing Uncle Rick. Qi Ning stuck out her tongue and made faces at her nieces. How is that possible? We're nostalgic people. Although Uncle Rick is handsome, he's still not as handsome as our handsome Sue. Auntie, you're not telling the truth, Little Bean emphasized. Okay. You're right, Little Bean. Then tell me again, who's more handsome? Little Bean asked with her hands on her hips. Qi Ning nodded helplessly and said, yeah, Suyu is more handsome. Which part is more handsome? Little Bean asked. Handsome in every way. Can you tell me more? Don't be so perfunctory. Let me think. Suyu's eyes are more charming. Is that okay? Yeah, I'm satisfied. I'll let you go. Little Bean nodded in satisfaction. Qi Ning glanced at Little Bean who was playing with her phone. Little Bean, can we go take a shower and sleep now? Okay, after I send this video, Little Bean said calmly. What video? Qi Ning was confused. I just recorded a short video of you and sent it to Handsome Sue. What? Qi Ning was dumbfounded. Did it have to be so awkward? What did she just say? Oh my god. Little Bean. Are you trying to push your auntie to the brink? It's so embarrassing. Qi Ning covered her face and wanted to die. It was impossible to guard against this. What's so awkward about it? Handsome Sue will be happy to see it. Isn't it good to have a beauty compliment you? Plus, I don't think I'm pushing you to the brink. I think I'm creating an opportunity for you. What opportunity? Qi Ning was still confused. You'll know in the future. Then, Pudding put down her phone and glanced at Little Bean. You did a good job just now. You've recorded everything. Let's see what Handsome Sue says later. So, how are you going to thank me for doing so well? Little Bean asked Pudding. I won't tell Mom that you secretly ate donuts in the morning. Little Bean, seeing the two little guys leave the room and walk towards the bathroom, Qi Ning's heart was about to break down. She finally realized that she couldn't treat them like babies at all. They didn't look like innocent and sweet babies at all. They were two black-bellied little bastards. Qin Zhao Zhao, Chin Moo, let's talk. In the bathroom, the two little guys sat naked in the large bathtub. They were taking a comfortable bath. Chin Ning sat beside them on a small stool with a serious expression. Sure, what do you want to talk about? Pudding looked at Chin Ning calmly. You too. Do you have some kind of secret plan? Chin Ning narrowed her eyes at her two nieces and asked mysteriously. No, Little Bean immediately denied. Impossible. Why do I feel like you two are plotting against me, plotting against you? Pudding looked at Chin Ning innocently with her cute little eyes. Chapter 1936. Little Bean was wiping Pudding's back with a bath towel. The two sisters were full of love. Yeah. Why do I feel like you're trying to set me up with Suyu? Chin Ning asked awkwardly. In fact, she shouldn't talk about this topic with kids. After all, it was too adult. But if she didn't talk about it, Chin Ning was afraid that her niece would sell her out one day. Auntie. You just realized it. You're so slow. Little Bean looked disgusted. Chin Ning, my sister and I have been doing this for a long time. I thought you already knew. I didn't expect you to ask us. I'm really disappointed in your IQ. Are you really our biological daughter? Did second grandpa give you to me when he recharged his phone? Or did second grandma give you to me? Little Bean pouted. Chin Ning, Auntie. You're an adult. Do you still need to ask this kind of thing? Even a blind person can see it. I just want to set you up with handsome Sue. Pudding admitted calmly. The two brats, one was mocking her and the other was scheming against her. Oh my God, Chin Ning's pure and innocent heart instantly shattered like dumplings. Chin Zhao Zhao, Chin Moo Moo, am I not good to you? Chin Ning was irritated. Very good. The two sisters said in unison. Then why are you biting the hand that feeds you? Chin Ning looked wronged. Of course not. I think we're grateful. Suyu is a good man, Pudding explained. Yes, Auntie. Don't think too much. Maybe handsome Sue doesn't like you. So, calm down, Little Bean persuaded. Chin Ning, aw. Aw. This is crazy. I'm very calm. No, you look crazy, Auntie. Pudding looked at her quietly. Aw. You two little traitors. I fed you well, took you out to play, and gave you big red packets. But you sold me out. Aw. I'm going to tell my sister-in-law. I'm going to call her and tell her that you're disobedient. Chin Ning used her trump card. Rumor had it that the twins were very afraid of their mother. Not long ago, Pudding had made a mistake and was beaten up badly by Huamin. Whatever. If you want to do that, we'll have to tell Grandpa that you like to video call men in the middle of the night, Pudding explained calmly. Did you video call a man naked in the middle of the night? Little Bean added. Chin Chu was speechless. Are you two really my nieces? Chin Ning wanted to cry but no tears came out. That depends on whether or not you're the Chin family's biological aunt, Pudding replied. Chin Ning almost spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground with internal injuries. It was no wonder that before they left, her sister-in-law had reminded her to look after the twins and talk less with them. Looks like I fell into his trap as I chatted. She even dared to openly threaten her, an elder. Can the two of you still play happily with Auntie? This depends on what Auntie does. Anyways, if you tell on us to Mom, we'll have a hard time. If we have a hard time, you won't have a good time either. Little Bean emphasized slowly. Little Bean. How can you scare Auntie? She's an elder after all, Pudding lectured Little Bean seriously. Qi Ning nodded and gave Pudding a thumbs up in agreement. However, when she heard Pudding's next sentence, she almost frothed at the mouth. Chapter 1937. If we're going to do it, we have to be ruthless. It's not enough to scare her. We have to find a way to kill her. Qi Ning felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Crack. Okay, you win. I won't tell my sister-in-law, and you can't talk nonsense to my dad. Qi Ning's father, who was Qin Chu's second uncle, loved the twins very much. He spoiled them to the max, and the twins were very good at coaxing people. If the two of them were really talking nonsense, then she would really be dead. Deal. Pudding reached out and slapped Qi Ning's hand. Then, she asked in all seriousness, so, what do you think about us setting you up with Suyu? Here we go again. Qi Ning was speechless. Tell us, at least let us know what you think. Little Bean stuck out her tongue and smiled at Qi Ning. To be honest, I don't think so. Can you two stop messing around? How can Suyu and I be together? Why not? Pudding asked. Do you think you're not pretty enough for handsome Su? Little Bean interrupted. Wrong. I've always thought I'm pretty. I don't think I'm not good enough for anyone. I just don't know Suyu that well. That's not a problem. I'll give you two a chance to get to know each other. You can go back to China and live with us at South Hill Manor. As long as you're with us, you'll see him a lot because handsome Su comes to visit us every week. He treats us to good food and takes us to golf. How can I do that? I have a job at the headquarters. Didn't your dad tell you that Auntie is the CEO of GK's headquarters in the United States? What does that have to do with anything? There's GK in China too, and it's also our family's business. My mom is the president, so you can continue to be the CEO. Little Bean made the appropriate arrangements and thought she was a genius. That's different. Plus, I grew up here and I like it here. All my good friends are here. Okay, you won't understand. Hurry up and take a shower. You'll go to bed soon. Qi Ning felt like the more she talked to her nieces, the more likely she would be tricked. Therefore, he decided to end the topic. Qi Ning turned around and went to get towels for the twins. Little Bean asked her sister nervously, "Do you think Auntie is interested in handsome Su? Will the plan fail? Take it slow. There's no rush. Auntie isn't that easy to deal with," Pudding replied. In China, the headquarters of Imperial Star Group, Suyu had just walked out of the executive meeting when he received a video from Pudding. Initially, he thought that the two little fellows were playing tricks on him. To his surprise, it was Pudding who had recorded Qi Ning, and it was a video of Qi Ning saying that he was handsome. Suyu was completely baffled by her reaction. Just as he was about to call Pudding back to ask what was going on, he suddenly remembered that it should be night time in the United States. So, he simply gave up on this idea. New Orleans Huamin, Qin Chu, and Rick finished their dinner. After sitting for a while, they prepared to go to the guest room to rest. While Qin Chu was taking a shower, Huamin suddenly thought of something and went downstairs. Rick was still working on his laptop. Rick, yeah. Rick turned around and glanced at Huamin. In the past 3 years, you haven't contacted Cece, right? Huamin slowly asked. Yeah, I haven't. Rick's eyes changed slightly and he nodded. A few days before I came, I saw her at the company. Cece, she's already back in China, Huamin continued. Just then, she noticed a subtle reaction on Rick's face. Chapter 1938. Really? She's back. Rick was obviously not confident when he talked about Cece. It was as if there were a lot of things in his eyes. Have you really forgotten her? Huamin asked. So what if I haven't forgotten her? Rick smiled bitterly. Rick. I think my sixth sense has always been quite accurate. I'm good at reading people. I always felt that you liked Cece a lot. You're right, I like Cece a lot. Rick's eyes only showed a rare gentleness when he said Cece's name. Huamin didn't say anything, but, you can't do whatever you want in a relationship just because you like her. There are a lot of things in between, for example. Huamin frowned slightly as he looked at Rick. Her identity, Rick said slowly. You don't like her background. Huamin found it unbelievable. No, I don't like myself. Cece is a good girl from a normal family, but I'm not. After he said this, he immediately looked at Huamin and continued, Chin Chu told you what I do for a living, right? The biggest gang in America, Huamin explained calmly. Yes. Rick nodded. But isn't your brother in charge of it? You've been doing well in China all these years, haven't you? Huamin didn't understand. That was before, but 3 years ago, my brother got into a car accident and became disabled. He can only sit in a wheelchair now. Huamin was shocked when he heard this. I see, no wonder you didn't go to Cece 3 years ago. Huamin finally had the answer to the question that had been bothering him for the past 3 years. She had said a lot to Rick at the twins' 1-month-old party. He seemed to understand. Huamin thought that Rick would go to Cece in the end, and then the two of them who loved each other deeply would get back together. Unfortunately, later, she heard that Cece went abroad to study and Rick went back to the States, never to be heard from again. She was still wondering what was going on. How could Rick suddenly leave under such circumstances? It turned out that something so big had happened to the clan. Rick sighed slightly and continued, 3 years ago, I left your house and wanted to go find Cece immediately. But at that time, the family sent me the news that my brother was in a car accident. I didn't care about anything else and came back here to take care of him, but he still hasn't recovered. He's basically a cripple now. And in the family, I'm the only one who can take care of him. I can't watch the family business that my parents built be eaten away by others. That would be a waste of my brother's efforts all these years. So... Rick paused for a moment. So now that you've inherited your brother's position, you're truly the godfather of the mafia. Thinking about this time, Rick seemed to have a strong murderous aura when he walked down from the helicopter. Then, he shot the hooligan to death without even blinking. It seemed that he had killed a lot of people in the past few years. You're right. I don't think I can give Cece happiness right now, because I don't even know how long I'll live. Don't be so pessimistic. Huamin suddenly felt sorry for Rick. This man looked so cold, but he hid everything in his heart. Huamin. I've killed a lot of people. Whether they deserved to die or not, they died because of me. I can't turn back now. I can't choose my family background, but Cece still has. She's just an ordinary girl who graduated from university, went abroad to study, got a job when she came back, found a boyfriend who loves her, got married, had children, and lived a peaceful and happy life. But I can't give her any of these seemingly ordinary things. So... Rick, you actually love her very much. You're doing this for her own good? Huamin asked. Chapter 1939. Rick didn't say anything, but he didn't say anything. You're just like Mr. Chin. You'd rather bear everything in silence and give the person you love the best life possible. Rick, think about it. Did Cece live a happy life without you for the past 3 years? What do you think is happiness? Is it really true happiness in her eyes? Don't forget, you're not Cece, neither of us are Cece. You have no right to choose what kind of life she wants to live. Rick didn't say anything. He knew what Hwa-min said made sense. Actually, as a friend, there's one thing I should say to you. Go ahead. Rick raised his head and looked at Hwa-min with loneliness in his eyes. Love isn't the most important thing in life, but it's the most regrettable thing. Maybe when you're old, you'll remember that your family and friends treated you so well, but you didn't treat yourself well when it came to love. That's a terrible feeling. Because you can't do it all over again. I know. But my current situation. Rick didn't seem to have the strength to do it. I understand your situation. I used to feel the same way. After I broke up with Chin-chu, I felt like there was no love left. Then, I went to college and got together with Ning Ziyuan. At that time, I thought it was the same no matter who I was with. The truth is, there's a big difference. If you choose an angel, you'll live in heaven. If you choose a demon, you'll live in hell. If you choose a stranger, you'll have to be prepared to live with that stranger for many years. Rick still didn't say anything. I've said everything I need to say. Rick, I treat you and Cece as my friend. That's why I'm saying all this. I know. I won't let you choose. After all, you have your own difficulties. I just think that it's rare for the two of you to truly love each other. We're the same type of people, living passionately in this heartless world. Other people follow the rules, but we follow the rules. Rick lowered his head again at Hwa-min's words. Okay, I've said enough. Think about the rest, I'm going to bed. Good night, my friend. Rick was very grateful to Hwa-min for telling him so much. Really, Rick didn't have a friend who dared to tell him the truth anymore. It was so rare. After Hwa-min left, Rick was in a bad mood. He picked up a bottle of whiskey from the wine cabinet and poured a full glass. Then, he sat on the sofa and drank alone. Godfather. What should we do with Auckland's traitor? A subordinate walked over and whispered. Kill them all. After Rick finished speaking, he raised his head and drank the entire glass of whiskey. The strong alcohol made him very uncomfortable, and his stomach felt like it was on fire. But he couldn't feel the pain, because nothing hurt more than losing Cece. It had been 3 years. For 3 whole years, he hadn't heard any news about her. He didn't even dare to send his subordinates to ask around. Firstly, he was afraid that if he heard news about her, he wouldn't be able to control himself and would look for her. Firstly, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to take the blow if he heard that she was already married and had a child. Just now, when he heard from Hwa-min that Cece had just returned to China and wasn't married yet, he was more or less glad. After all, Rick didn't know how he would face Cece if she got married. He took out his phone, unlocked it, and opened WeChat. Then, he gently clicked to add it. It was filled with Cece's photos. There were so many that it made his eyes dizzy. Chapter 1940. When they broke up, Cece deleted him from her WeChat and they didn't have each other's WeChat anymore. However, Rick had saved all the selfies Cece sent him and the ones she posted on her WeChat friend circle. The more he looked at them, the sadder he felt. Especially when you look at Cece's bright and radiant face and your innocent smile. He felt as if his heart was being crushed by something. In the bedroom upstairs, honey, you're back. Take a shower and go to bed. Chin-chu walked over while drying his hair. No, I'm not in the mood. Hwa-min was a little disappointed. What's wrong? I'm a little tired. I want to sleep. Hwa-min hugged Chin-chu's waist and began to act like a spoiled child. Chin-chu immediately put down the towel in his hand and picked Hwa-min up. Then, he hugged her and the two of them lay on the bed. Did you talk to Rick about Cece? Chin Chu asked softly. How did you know? You're amazing, Mr. Chin. Chin Chu could still see through Huamin's thoughts with one glance. If I didn't know you well, how could I have won your heart back then? Chin Chu smiled and patted Huamin's head. Honey, why can't so many people in love be together in this world? Love requires fate to begin with. How many people have always been deeply in love with each other, but fate doesn't bring them together? How many people are too young, too stubborn, too willful, and miss the person they love the most? You're right. Now that I think about it, we're really lucky to be together, get married, and have a baby. Yeah, we're indeed one of the few people who can persist in love, Chin Chu exclaimed. Damn. Speaking of which, I remember now. We're still divorced. We're living together illegally. Huamin thought about how Chin Chu was forced to divorce Huamin because of Hua Xichin's scheme. Although it was one-sided, everyone in the city knew about it and even announced it in the newspaper. Don't worry, I'm just putting on a show for Hua Xichin. We're not divorced, Huamin was dumbfounded, that's not right. We already signed the divorce papers, yeah. It's not legally binding, and I didn't send it to the divorce registry. Do you have the divorce certificate? Chin Chu's asked with a smile. Huamin's head, so, we're not divorced. Huamian giggled. Humph. Oh my god, I thought I was divorced. Huamian looked up at the sky and sighed. I'm ts up. Com est s. What big event? Huamian couldn't remember right away. Our wedding. Our grand wedding, Chin Chu said with a smile. Yeah. We almost had a wedding before, but that bastard Hua Xichin ruined it. But that's good. When we have a wedding, we'll have 2 flower girls. Huamin didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the thought of his daughters. You're making me miss them, Chin Chu said quietly. Mr. Chin, can't you grow up? They don't even miss us, why should we miss them? They're having so much fun that they forgot about their parents. Huamin pouted. Chin Chu smiled as he took out his cell phone and video called Chin Ning. Hello, big brother. Hi, sis-in-law. Chin Ning waved at Chin Chu happily. Ning Ning, where are Pudding and Little Bean? Chapter 1941. Those 2 brats. They fell asleep a long time ago, so early. Chin Chu was a little disappointed. It's not early anymore, big bro. Look at the time. You guys are adults, even if you're not sleepy, the kids are. Okay, I'll call back tomorrow. Wait, big bro. When are you guys coming back? We'll see. Rick wants us to stay here for one more day and take us to the manor in the south. Oh. Okay, since my dad likes the twins, we'll let them stay here for a bit longer. Ning Ning, they're not naughty, are they? Huamin asked. No, sis-in-law, my nieces are very obedient. Chin Ning felt guilty and didn't dare to tell Huamin the truth. She was afraid that the twins would hold a grudge against her and take revenge. She had seen what the twins were capable of. They could kill her at any moment, that's good. If they cause trouble or don't listen to you, just call me, Huamin said. Okay, sis-in-law. Ning Ning, when you take them out to play, remember to bring enough bodyguards. Be careful. Chin Chu was really worried about his daughter. Even the bodyguards around Chin Ning were personally picked by Chin Chu. There were 8 of them and it was very eye-catching. They were no less than the president's daughter. Okay, I got it, big bro, don't worry. Even if you lose me, you can't lose the twins. Don't worry. Then, Chin Ning hung up the phone. Chin Chu hugged Huamin and the 2 talked for a while. Then, Huamin fell asleep. Seeing that she was asleep, Chin Chu laid her down on the bed. He carefully tucked her in and then went downstairs. Rick was still downstairs. Do you want a drink? Rick looked up at Chin Chu. Sure. Chin Chu walked over and sat down. Rick picked up an empty glass and poured Chin Chu a glass of whiskey. I really envy you. What do you envy me for? Chin Chu took a sip of wine. I envy that you have Huamin by your side. You have a Huamin who will never leave you. As far as I know, you were the one who broke up with Huamian first. I heard that Cece cried her eyes out and looked for Huamian a couple of times. She didn't seem happy about it, Chin Chu asked. A short pain is better than a long pain. I don't think it's a short period of time. It's been 3 years. Chin Chu chuckled. Cece was the first girl I fell in love with, and also the last one. Are you sure? Judging from your tone, are you not going to get married in the future, or are you not going to love anyone else? Chin Chu looked at Rick. What do you think? Rick smiled bitterly and finished the whiskey in his hand. Godfather, you've drunk enough. You can't drink anymore. The butler came up to him and spoke in perfect British English. Get out of my way. Rick's eyes were cold. You've become more ruthless than before. Chin Chu sighed as he thought about how Rick killed so many people today without batting an eye. If I wasn't ruthless, I wouldn't be in this position today. Then, the empire that my brother and father fought for would fall into someone else's hands. Yes, so I understand your choice. Chin Chu nodded. Chin Chu, if you were me, would you give up on Huamin? Would you choose to protect your family? Chin Chu didn't say anything. Before he could answer, Rick smiled and said, You wouldn't, because Huamin is your everything. She's even more important than your life. You don't care about your family, your business, your career. In your heart, Huamin is enough, right? You're right, Chin Chu answered word by word. Just then, Rick suddenly thought of something and asked, Oh right, about that thing, does Huamin know about it? Chapter 1942. Chin Chu immediately knew what Rick was talking about. His eyes darkened slightly. I don't know yet. Then when are you going to tell her? Or, are you going to keep it a secret forever? The point is, can you keep it a secret forever? Huamin is so smart, she'll find out sooner or later. I know, but it's not the right time to tell her yet. We just got back to our sweet days and I don't want to spoil it. I don't want her to be sad because of me. Huamian is very happy, because you always think about her first. You think about her feelings and her situation first, and then yourself. Rick admired Chin Chu's persistence with Huamin the most. It was a kind of terrifying willpower that ordinary people didn't have. Chin Chu smiled. She's actually the happiest thing in my life. How could I lose her? Rick thought about Chin Chu and Huamin and then thought about himself and Cece, which made him even more depressed. After drinking with Rick, Chin Chu quietly went upstairs. Huamin was still sleeping soundly. He quietly got into bed and hugged her from behind, afraid that he would wake her up. Instead of saying that Huamin relied on Chin Chu, it was more like Chin Chu relied on Huamin. Because only when she was with Huamin, she felt completely safe. The next morning, Huamin and Chin Chu woke up. Rick's housekeeper had already prepared a sumptuous breakfast. The three of them were eating when the sound of a car came from the door. Sir, it's Miss Luna's car. The housekeeper took a look and reported to Rick. Oh, okay. Rick continued eating with an indifferent expression. Huamin and Chin Chu looked at each other and didn't ask Rick anything. After a while, a girl in a pink dress opened the door and walked in. She had blonde hair and blue eyes. She didn't look old, and her face was full of collagen. Because the foreigner was fair-skinned and had three-dimensional facial features, this girl looked like a Barbie doll. Wow! Rick, there are so many people in your house. Are they guests? He's my friend. Rick picked up the towel on the table and wiped the corner of his mouth. Friends? So awesome. Are they your friends from China? The girl spoke in English the entire time. Yes. Can you introduce him to me? This is the first time I've seen your friends come to your house. The girl curiously sized up Huamin and Qin Chu, and then gave a friendly smile. Huamin responded with a smile. Rick seemed to be indifferent to the girl, but because the girl was too enthusiastic, he could only get up helplessly. Then he introduced, my friends from China, Qin Chu and Huamin. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Luna. Rick's fiancée. The girl introduced herself before Rick introduced himself. Fiancée. Okay, Rick, why didn't you tell us? Huamin was surprised, and then he looked at Rick and Qin Chu. Qin Chu obviously didn't know either, and his face was full of confusion. Luna, what are you talking about? Rick frowned slightly, and it seemed like he was very dissatisfied with this girl. What? Am I wrong? The girl raised her chin, and it seemed like she was provoking him. You're not my fiancé yet. So, please watch your words, don't scare my friends. I'll be your fiancé in the future. I heard what Dad said to you the other day. He wants us to get married. It's good for both my family and yours. You said you'd think about it too, humph. Qin Chu finally understood, and he looked at Luna. You're from the Frank family. Chapter 1943. You know my daddy too. Luna blinked her deep blue eyes and looked at Qin Chu seriously. No, I've only heard of him. After all, he's so famous. So that's how it is. Luna nodded thoughtfully. Is this your girlfriend? She's so cute, like a China doll. She'd look even better in a cheongsam. Luna glanced at Huamin and said. No, she's my wife. You guys are married. Luna was surprised. Yeah, and the baby is 3 years old, Qin Chu replied proudly. God. I'm so happy. Rick, let's hurry up. I want to give you a lot of babies in the future. Then, the girl grabbed Rick's arm, trying to be more intimate. Rick dodged, and the girl's hand missed, making her a bit embarrassed. Luna, you should go back. Your father will be worried about you. I'm not leaving. I'm safe here. Plus, you have food and a place to stay. I haven't had enough fun yet. I don't have time to play with you. I have a lot of work to do. But I'm still staying. I want to bond with you. We're going to get married in the future. I didn't say I'm going to marry you. Remember that, Rick corrected her. But you told my daddy that you'd think about it. I was just brushing your daddy off. I was being polite, you know. Rick was speechless. I don't care. I took it seriously. Rick, I'm so hungry. I haven't had breakfast yet. Luna pursed her lips. There's some here. We're eating too. Let's eat together. Huamin was a bit embarrassed. You eat by yourself. We'll eat. Then, Rick turned around and left. Qin Chu and Huamin followed him out. The girl named Luna actually sat down and started eating slowly. When they walked out of the door, Huamin pulled Qin Chu's sleeve in a low voice. Honey, who's this? What does her father do? Why does he want to marry Rick? She's the eldest daughter of the Frank family. Her father, Moto, is the boss of the biggest black market in Mexico. He controls a lot of things, like prostitution, gambling, drugs, and the slave trade. Anyway, you can think of him as a mafia boss. No wonder. He's in the black market, just like the Rick family. Yes, I heard from Rick that he has been working with the Frank family for the past 3 years, and the cooperation has been quite good. It seems that in order to further develop and build trust, Murdoch intends to marry his daughter to Rick. What does that mean? Huamian asked nervously. I don't know yet. I haven't asked him. What? I know. Huamian nodded. Why don't you guys have a round? Rick asked as he looked at them with 3 golf clubs in his hand. Inside a luxurious mansion in Los Angeles ever since Qin Ning's father met the twins, he stopped going to work. As the chairman of the board of directors, he played with them at home every day. 1 minute, he would play Chinese xiangqi, and the next, he would play xiangqi. Chairman Qin, you have a call. Qin Ning's assistant walked over with his phone. Who is it? Qin Chu's second uncle turned his head, slightly displeased. Chapter 1944. They said there's a meeting in the afternoon and they need you to go back. I'm busy. Let them handle it. Qin Chu's uncle waved his hand. Okay. Grandpa, it's not right for you to go like this. Little Bean instructed. I have to go like this. Otherwise, I'll be eaten. Qin Chu's uncle argued with Little Bean like a child. No, no. If you go like this, you'll fall into my sister's trap. She's very cunning. She set a trap for you. Idiot. As soon as Little Bean finished speaking, Qin Chu's uncle's chess piece fell onto the ground. Pudding picked up a chess piece and slammed it down on the chessboard. Checkmate, Qin Chu's uncle, Little Bean said. See? What did I just say? I told you, but you didn't listen. You're such an idiot. Grandpa, you're such an idiot. Is there any room for negotiation? Qin Chu's uncle asked. Grandpa, it's a checkmate. Pudding smiled. Okay. I lost again. Qin Chu's uncle took out $100 from his wallet and handed it to Pudding. Little Bean craned her neck and looked at Qin Zhao. Wow, not bad. You played chess and mobile games with second grandpa early in the morning. You must have won a few thousand yuan. Qin Zhao, you're very smart. Do you think I'm like you who only knows how to eat? Pudding didn't care. I just enjoy life. I'm not like you. You're a miser, Little Bean mocked her sister. Whatever you say. You don't know what I'm thinking. You don't need to know. Qin Ning came back from her morning jog. Seeing the old and young playing so happily, she immediately ran over to join in the fun. What's going on? How's the game? Qin Ning asked. Auntie, you're back just in time. Hurry up and save your dad. Little Bean covered her mouth and laughed. So serious. You're using the word save. Of course. If you didn't come back, Grandpa would have lost so much that he couldn't even wear his underwear. Little Bean. Don't talk nonsense. How can you say that about Grandpa? Qin Chu's uncle almost collapsed. All right, let me put it in another way. Second Grandpa has lost so much that he only has his underwear left. Qin Ning's father, Daddy, what's wrong with you? Was it okay to lose to a kid? Didn't you say you were an expert in Chinese chess? There's always someone better than me out there. Today, I've been defeated. What's the saying again? The student surpasses the master. Qin Ning's father sighed. That's not right, Grandpa Qin. There's a saying that goes like this. The younger generation surpasses the older one and slaps the older one hard on the beach. Little Bean sighed as she ate the cream cake. You little brat. Qin Ning pointed her finger at Little Bean. Pudding. Did you learn how to play Go from your mom? Qin Ning's dad knew that Huamin was a talented girl with a high IQ. She was a fast learner. No, my mom doesn't have time. She's usually busy at the company. Then who did you learn from? Qin Chu's uncle was surprised. I read some basic lessons and played Chinese chess on my phone for a few days. Later, when I went to the Su family, I would play a few rounds with Grandpa Su and Grandpa Su. You know, when you play against an expert, you'll naturally become good at it. Pudding said with a serious expression. Wow, you're so good at playing games at such a young age. Qin Ning's dad really liked the twins, not only because they were smart but also because they were the Qin family's flesh and blood. They didn't come easily. Dad, hurry up and go to the video conference. I'll clean up and we'll go out for hot pot. Qin Ning pushed her father out. Then, the two little guys hopped out of the room as well. Qin Ning cleaned up the tatami study. Half an hour later, she came out and looked around but didn't see the twins. Ha! Where are my nieces? Qin Ning was puzzled. Chapter 1945. Pudding, Little Bean. Qin Ning shouted. Then, she went upstairs and downstairs to look for them. When she saw the housekeeper and the housekeeper, she asked, Have you seen the children? No. I didn't see him, Mississippi. Qin Ning suddenly had a bad feeling. Then, she ran out in her indoor slippers without putting on her shoes. Have you seen the twins? Along the way, she asked the bodyguards and security guards. No, Mississippi. What's wrong? The children are gone. They're not in the villa. Could it be that they're playing hide-and-seek with you? The bodyguard asked. No, they never play such childish games. If Qin Ning didn't know about them before, she might think that the children were playing hide-and-seek with her and would look for them. However, on their first night together, Qin Ning suggested hide-and-seek. Little Bean and Pudding laughed at her. At that time, the conversation went like this, Qin Ning, babies, let's play hide-and-seek. Pudding, Auntie, how old are you? Little Bean, Auntie, I always thought that you were a smart child. I didn't expect you to play such a boring game. Is it fun to hide and be found? I don't even know what's so fun about this game. Qin Ning, isn't it fun when you find them? Little Bean, why would I be happy? I didn't really lose them. I hid them on purpose. Pudding, Auntie, it's late. Go to bed. Qin Ning, from the previous conversation, it could be seen that the twins didn't like childish games. Therefore, she was sure that they weren't hiding. Don't worry, Mississippi. Let's go to the surveillance room. Yes, the surveillance room. After speaking, Qin Ning immediately led the bodyguards to the surveillance room. Then, she hurriedly pulled up the video recording. After watching it, Qin Ning's heart turned cold. Because the entire video showed that the twins didn't appear at all. Such a big villa, all the front and back were thousands of square meters. There was a garden and a swimming pool. However, they couldn't find a trace of the two children, and it had only been half an hour. Oh right, I'll call them. Qin Ning suddenly remembered that Pudding and Little Bean both had phones. When she called them, she realized that their phones were all turned off. Qin Ning was about to go crazy. God, her brother and sister-in-law trusted her with the child, but she lost it. When Qin Ning's father came out of the video conference, he realized that it was a mess outside. Daddy, it's over. The kids are gone. Qin Ning cried. What child is missing? Pudding and Little Bean are gone. Weren't you at home just now? Yeah, but it happened in the blink of an eye, and no one has ever seen them. How could that be? Do you think he can disappear into thin air? Search for him, search carefully, even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground to find him. Qin Chu's second uncle was also anxious. With all the security guards, bodyguards, butlers, nannies, from the front to the back, the basement, the wine cellar, the garden, even the swimming pool. There was still no news of the child. At this time, Qin Ning and her father were on the verge of collapse. They were 3-year-old children, and there were 2 of them. If they really went missing, Qin Chu and Huamin would probably go crazy. I'll call my sister-in-law and ask if she went to find them. Although Qin Ning knew that it was unlikely, she still called Huamin with a glimmer of hope. Hello. Ning Ning. Huamin's gentle voice came from the other end of the phone. Chapter 1946. Sis-in-law, what are you and my brother up to? Qin Ning asked guiltily. We're playing golf. Are you still with Rick? Yeah, we're still in New Orleans. Oh, when are you coming back? Tonight. We're flying back tonight. Oh, okay. What's wrong? What's up? Ning Ning. No, nothing. I just wanted to ask, did Pudding and Little Bean call you? It was 7 in the morning. Pudding sent me a picture, and then nothing happened. What are the 2 of them doing? Yeah, they played chess with my daddy for the whole morning. Tell them to behave and not to bully your grandpa. Okay, I will. Sis-in-law, you guys have fun. See you tonight. Okay. After hanging up, Huamin muttered to himself, Ning Ning sounded a bit weird. What's wrong? Honey. Qin Chu asked. Nothing. Ning Ning just called to ask when we're coming back. Maybe my uncle asked her to. Oh, okay. We'll leave tonight. Qin Chu continued to play golf with Rick. He didn't know that it was because the twins were missing. The family was in a panic. Qin Chu's uncle even alerted the police in Los Angeles to help look for the twins. Qin Ning almost cried when she remembered that. She even added Suyu on WeChat. Pudding always video called Suyu, so Qin Ning remembered his WeChat ID. Afraid that Suyu would reject her, she even added a note, I'm the twins' aunt. Sure enough, Qin Chu accepted her request in less than 5 seconds. Hello, Mr. Su. Hello. I'm the twins' aunt. I know. You're Qin Ning. Pudding had been creating opportunities for Qin Ning and Suyu, so they were familiar with each other. Yes, I'm Qin Ning. So, you're looking for me. It was daytime in Los Angeles, but midnight in China. Suyu was about to go to bed when he saw that someone had added him on WeChat. He was puzzled. Who would be so bored at night? Did Pudding and Little Bean send you a video? Recently? Suyu was surprised. Yes, the most recent one. I think it was last night. Before going to bed, they're used to sending me voice messages, telling me about the happy things that happened today and sharing them with me. Oh, what's wrong? Suyu asked cautiously. Oh, it's nothing. I was just asking. Pudding and Little Bean really like to joke around. If they tell you something, don't take it to heart, okay? I know. I've been dealing with them for 3 years. I'm used to it. Suyu chuckled. That's good. I'll leave you to it then. I still have things to do. After speaking, Qin Ning put down her phone. Then, she felt as if her heart was on fire. Daddy, what should we do? Big brother and sister-in-law are coming back tonight. If the twins are lost, I don't want to live anymore. I even told Big Brother that it was fine. Tears flowed down Qin Ning's cheeks as she blamed herself. You're all useless. How can you not even look after the kids? Qin Chu's second uncle pointed at the bodyguards angrily. Luckily, they were all handpicked by Qin Chu. It was said that 2 of them were retired Navy SEALs. But with so many people, they couldn't even look after the 2 3-year-old babies. They didn't even know how they disappeared. Qin Chu's second uncle looked down at his watch. It had been 2 hours since the twins went missing. Everyone's hearts were in their mouths. They didn't even dare to think if they were kidnapped or if something bad happened to them. Daddy, what should we do now? Qin Ning asked while crying. Chapter 1947. We'll have to go out and look for them, but we can't make too much noise, Qin Ning's father said worriedly. Qin Ning knew that in a complicated place like the United States, if she announced that the twins were missing, people would know that the twins were exposed. Especially if people found out that they were the children of the chairman of the GK Corporation, people with ulterior motives would put the twins in danger. Therefore, they had to look for them quietly. The problem was, they didn't know where the twins were. Without a single clue, how were they supposed to start looking? At this moment, in front of a luxury jewelry store in a busy area, 2 identical twins were pacing back and forth in front of the door. Sis, we're just buying a gift for handsome Sue. Why are you being so secretive? Why didn't you bring Auntie here? Little Bean complained. If we bring Auntie here, we won't be able to pick out the gift ourselves. But we didn't bring our phones. Won't Auntie be worried if she can't find us? We'll be back in a bit. What's there to be afraid of? Pudding replied calmly. But we don't have to avoid all the surveillance cameras in the house. Will Grandpa and Auntie think that we disappeared into thin air and traveled to another world? Will they be scared to death? Why do you have so many questions? If you're worried, you can go back first. If Auntie finds out where we are, do you think we'll be able to come out alone? But why do we have to come out alone? Little Bean was confused. Obviously, the 2 sisters didn't see eye to eye. Do you like to have so many bodyguards following you everywhere you go? Pudding asked aggressively. Little Bean immediately shook her head. No, I don't like it either. But I have no choice. Mommy said that Huasiqian is a big bad guy who wants to catch us. Handsome Sue also told us to be careful of that psycho. But we're not in China. We're in the United States. I don't believe that Huasiqian's people can do whatever they want here. You're right. Little Bean nodded in agreement. If Auntie finds out where we are, she'll definitely send people to follow us. To be honest, I want to experience what it's like to be homeless in a foreign country. Pudding said maturely. Are you looking for trouble? I don't feel safe at all. Let's hurry up and go home. I don't want anyone to kidnap us. After all, we're so pretty, Little Bean said confidently. Don't be so narcissistic, Miss Little Bean. In the big United States, people like us don't care about our looks. The beauties in Europe and America all have high noses, blonde hair, and blue eyes. No one will care about us. Don't be so delusional. Before Little Bean could say anything, Pudding opened the door and walked into the mall. Little Bean immediately followed behind her sister. Perhaps because of her personality, Little Bean wasn't as bold as Pudding, nor was she as mature and experienced. She was still a little childish, so she relied on Pudding a little when she went out. Pudding was the one who made all the decisions. Of course, when it came to food, she wouldn't compromise. Hi. Baby. The beautiful clerk had never seen such a small customer before, so she was very curious. Sis. I want to see a man's belt, Pudding looked up and said in fluent English. A belt. Are you buying it as a gift? Yes. Pudding nodded. But where are your parents? The clerk was confused. This was a luxury jewelry store. Chapter 1948. Every belt from this brand cost more than $1,000. She didn't think the twins could afford such an expensive belt. They didn't come. We went out alone, Pudding replied calmly. Ah, the salesgirl looked at them in disbelief. So, can I choose a gift for my friends? Pudding said proudly. But the belts here aren't cheap. The salesgirl tried to explain the price to the twins. I know. There are many Versace brands in China. I shop there often. After Pudding said this, the salesgirl was shocked again. However, Pudding was right. Suyu was a Versace fan, so most of his clothes, wallets, shoes, and daily necessities were from this brand. The twins and Suyu often went to stores like this, and Suyu often bought them things when he went shopping. He even bought some for Huamin, but Huamin had never worn them. Sis, we have to go home soon. Can we not waste time? Pudding looked at the shocked salesgirl and reminded her. Okay. Okay. Come with me. The salesgirl finally came back to her senses and carefully led the twins to the sofa in the middle. Then, he thoughtfully poured them some warm water to drink. Do you have juice? Little Bean asked. Please. We're here to shop, not to eat. Pudding said helplessly. Sis, please bring me the newest and most expensive ones. I only want men's belts. Thank you. Pudding sat on the sofa with her legs crossed. The twins were wearing dresses with suspenders, white lantern sleeves, and dark blue miniskirts. They were very cute and looked like socialites. One look and you could tell they weren't ordinary kids. Even their black leather shoes were handmade by a famous brand. They were extremely low-key and luxurious. Soon, the salesgirl brought over many belts according to Pudding's request. Baby, which one do you like? Okay. Put them down first. I'll take a look. Pudding looked at each design and colored carefully. I don't think handsome Sue needs a belt. He has mountains of luxury goods at home. What's the point of giving him a belt? Even if there's a mountain of them in his house, none of them are from us, Pudding retorted. That's true, if you don't want to buy it, then shut up. You're so annoying. Pudding continued to look at the belt. Little Bean drank her water and stopped looking at Pudding and the belt. She looked around. A black belt with a classic Versace pattern attracted Pudding's attention. What was different from the previous designs was that the woman in the design, which was the head of Medusa, had diamonds embedded in her eyes. It was shiny and beautiful. Sis, how much is this one? Pudding pointed at it and asked. This is a limited edition. There aren't many of them, so the price will be higher. The beautiful shop assistant explained patiently. So, how much is that? Pudding asked. More than $5,000. Wow. It's really expensive. 30,000 yuan. Little Bean put down her glass and exclaimed. Sure, I'll take this then. Please wrap it up for me, Pudding ordered. What the? Big sis. Are you crazy? Do you have that much money? Little Bean lowered her voice and asked worriedly. Chapter 1949. Don't you have more? The red packets Auntie gave us and the ones we won from Grandpa are enough. Why do you count me in? I didn't say I was going to give Handsome Sue a belt. Little Bean glared at her, unwilling to take out the money. Then what are you going to give him? Don't tell me you're not going to give Handsome Sue anything. You know how much he loves us. Are you going to be an ingrate? Of course not. You don't have to tell me how good Handsome Sue is to us, Little Bean refuted. So, what are you going to give him? Pudding continued to interrogate her. I haven't decided yet. Little Bean wasn't good at thinking. She was the lazy one. Then cut the crap. Give me the money. I'll pay you back when I get back. I can sell my stocks. Pudding forced her to. In the end, Little Bean pouted. Although she was unwilling, she still took out the money. I don't want you to pay me back. You have to tell Handsome Sue that we bought the belt. Humph. Okay, Pudding agreed without hesitation. Finally, under the astonished gaze of the beautiful shop assistant, the twins paid a huge sum of more than $5,000. They bought the exquisite belt with a bonus of more than 30,000 yuan. In fact, when they came, Pudding wanted to buy Suyu a gift when they went back. After all, they came so far away. She wanted to give Handsome Sue something to make him feel touched. Also, when they came, Mommy told her that the whole trip would only last for half a month. Pudding calculated the days and knew they would be back in a few days. That was why she wanted to sneak out to buy a gift. Keep the gift a secret. Don't tell Handsome Sue when you video call him. Do you hear me? Pudding reminded her. I know. When the twins came out, they took a taxi and said they wanted to go to the busiest shopping street. Of course, they took a taxi back. Since they were fluent in English, it wasn't difficult for them to communicate. Plus, Grandpa Sue didn't live in a remote area. There weren't many people on the way, so they didn't have to worry about safety. 4.5 hours after the twins went missing, the family was in a panic. The Los Angeles police began to search for the twins. By this time, the twins had returned home. Miss, sir, the twins are back. The security guard at the door called them. What? Where is she? Chin Chu's second uncle was so excited that he almost had a heart attack. It's at the door. I just went in. It'll be here soon. Less than a minute after hanging up the phone, the security guard at the door sent the two little guys back. When Qi Ning saw them, she immediately rushed over and hugged them tightly. Then, she burst into tears. Auntie, what are you doing? Little Bean and Pudding didn't expect their family to react so strongly. Where did you two go? Do you know how worried we were? Chin Chu's second uncle finally heaved a sigh of relief. If she didn't come back soon, he would really go crazy. Most importantly, Chin Chu and Huamin would arrive in Los Angeles at 8:00 p.m. If the child went missing, how was he going to explain it to them? Wasn't he a sinner? We just went shopping, that's all, Little Bean said weakly. Then why didn't you tell me? I could have taken you there. Qi Ning was anxious and angry. We wanted to go out on our own. We don't like the feeling of being followed everywhere. That's how it is in China. Mommy said there are bad people, so we understand. But it's so far away in the States. I thought it was a rare opportunity, Pudding explained. Then why didn't you bring your phone? It's out of battery. I've been charging it. Qin Zhao Zhao, Qin Mu Mu. You two are too much. When your parents come tonight, I'm going to tell them about this. Qin Ning was so angry that she couldn't stop crying. Luckily, the twins were back. Otherwise, she would have wanted to die. Hearing that she was going to tell their parents, the twins' faces changed drastically. Chapter 1950. Auntie, we were just kidding. Don't take it so seriously. Little Bean immediately gave in. Who's kidding? You scared me to death. I'm going to tell my brother and sister-in-law. You too, just wait for your deaths. Humph. With that, Qin Ning stood up and turned to leave. What should we do? She seems really angry. Little Bean was worried. She's really mad. Pudding nodded. So, did we go too far this time? Little Bean asked guiltily. Pudding was silent. Pudding, Little Bean, you two are too much. You scared me to death. I almost had a heart attack. Do you know how worried we were? Why didn't you tell us when you went out? How did you get out without us seeing you? Qin Chu's uncle was still in shock. Grandpa, I'm sorry. When we went out, we deliberately avoided the surveillance cameras and went into a blind spot. We timed it so that no one saw us. We just wanted to get rid of the bodyguards and Auntie. Pudding lowered her head and apologized to Qin Chu. But you know what? If something happened to you too, how could your auntie and I live? How could we face your parents and grandparents? We didn't think too much. We just went out to buy something and came back. We didn't expect it to take so long, Pudding told the truth. My goodness. Thank goodness you came back. Otherwise, I'd have to ask the entire Los Angeles police force to help us find you. Qin Chu's uncle heaved a sigh of relief. Grandpa, I'm a little hungry. Little Bean walked over and stood beside her father, acting cute. Oh, my little baby. You know you're hungry. Grandpa Qin pinched Little Bean's cheek and immediately turned to the housekeeper. Go and prepare something for the two babies. Yes, sir. Wait a minute. Tell the kitchen that I want to eat Chinese food today. Squirrel mandarin fish, spicy pork trotters, fried prawns with scallions, and fried mushrooms. Oh, right. I want borscht too. You can eat that much? Grandpa Qin was shocked. Of course. Grandpa, let me tell you, I can eat when I'm at home. Every time the housekeeper in the kitchen sees me, Little Bean stayed downstairs and changed the topic to appease second grandpa. She tried to persuade him not to make this a big deal. They didn't want their parents to know about this. It was fine if their father knew because he doted on them and couldn't bear to tell them. If Mommy found out, he would be dead meat. They had all personally experienced how scary their mommy was when she was angry, therefore, Little Bean gave Pudding a look. Pudding immediately turned around and went upstairs to coax Qin Ning, who had the most difficulty. Second grandpa was an elder, so he should be easy to deal with. As long as she coaxed him and acted coquettishly, his heart would soften. Of course, she would keep her mouth shut, but Aunt Qin Ning was a hot little pepper. Moreover, she must be very angry with them for being so aggrieved and frightened. When Pudding went upstairs, Qin Ning had just washed her face in the bathroom. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. She was such a strong person and rarely cried. Since she was young, she had always been strong and wanted to do the best in everything she did. That was why she became a member of GK's board of directors at such a young age and participated in many major investment decisions. But today, he was forced to cry by two 3-year-old girls, and he cried very miserably. Hello, Auntie. Pudding poked her head into the room and called out tentatively. Get out. I don't want to talk to you. Humph, Qin Ning turned her head away. She was so angry. She had been worried about them for more than 4 hours. Every day felt like a year. But they went shopping. What could be more infuriating than this? Chapter 1951. Auntie, I know you're angry, Pudding said guiltily. Qin Ning kept a straight face and didn't say anything. But we did this for a reason. can you at least give us a chance to explain? No, there's no chance to explain. If you want to explain, you'll have to explain to your parents tonight. Ning covered her ears. She knew her highly intelligent niece was trying to trick her again. So, she had to try her best not to be tricked by Pudding. Otherwise, she would have been scared for nothing. Auntie, to be honest, I always thought you were the smartest person in our family. Don't flatter me. Besides, don't try to trick me. The whole world knows your mommy is the smartest person in our family. Ha! Pudding couldn't help but laugh at Ning's cute appearance. Kid, why are you laughing, Auntie? I have to say it even if you don't want to listen. Let me show you something first. Then, Pudding took out the belt she bought for Suyu and showed it to Ning. Belt? It's for men. You're giving this to your daddy. Wait, your daddy's birthday is over. Ning murmured to herself. It's for handsome Su. For Suyu. Chu was slightly surprised. Yeah. Although we usually make small gifts for handsome Su, nothing expensive. After all, we're still young and don't have the ability to make money. Before we came to the States, I thought that since it was rare for us to come so far, we had to buy something for handsome Su. Coincidentally, you gave us some pocket money, and we won a lot of money playing chess with second grandpa this morning. Together with Little Bean's money, we had enough to buy this. So, you didn't spend the money because you wanted to buy a gift for Suyu. Ning was a little shocked. She knew the twins were good at spending money, so she gave them red packets. But after these days, she didn't hear anything from them. She thought they didn't need anything, but now it seemed that they were saving money to buy a gift for Suyu. Pudding, you two are so good to Suyu. Ning turned around and patted Pudding's head. Auntie, although we're young, we know how to be grateful. There are only two kinds of people in this world that deserve your kindness. One is that they treat you well, and the other is that they know how good you are. Handsome Su is both of them. Ever since we were born, he's been doting on us, and we've replaced the years when Daddy wasn't with us. I'm so grateful for everything handsome Su has done for us. Even if he likes us because he likes Mommy, at least he treats us well from the bottom of his heart. Pudding's words touched Ning's heart. Such sentimental words coming from the mouth of a little girl like Pudding really had a different flavor. Before Ning could respond, Pudding continued, Versace isn't a new brand. It's just one of the luxurious accessories, but it's handsome Su's favorite brand. He has a lot of things from this brand, so I wanted to buy him something from this brand. As for why it's a belt, guess, Auntie. Because the belt gives off an aura. Ning guessed. Pudding shook her head with a smile, because the belt is the cheapest? You don't have enough money. Ning's imagination ran wild. Pudding continued to shake her head. Okay, just tell me the answer. Geez, I really want to know. Ning finally decided to give up. She really couldn't guess. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.